Welcome to the IDP show. I'm your host, Josh Raymer, joined in the Sode Shack tonight. On my right, Adam Markham. Addy, how are you, hon?
Doing very well, Josh.
It was a beautiful Sunday of football. We've got another Monday night doubleheader wrapping up here in the Sode Shack. Bengals up on the Rams right now. What do you think about the Monday night doubleheader?
Well, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I remember when it was a thing a few years ago, it was like one game was at 6 o'clock, and then the other game was at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you got to stay up till midnight, be a bad little boy.
Yeah, just neglect your family for 6 straight hours.
And yeah, I don't like this. I don't like the let's start one game at 6, let's start one game at 7, and then let's try to keep up with both of them at the same time. Not a fan of that.
Yeah, it's almost like they rolled it out to make us use the multi-view feature on like YouTube TV or whatever, where it's like the two games side by side. But I'm with you. I don't mind the doubleheader. I wish they would space it out, give it a little more breathing room, and let us stay up till like 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. watching football. Like I remember those opening week one where you had like Chris Berman calling like, I don't know, Raiders Chargers or Raiders Broncos or something.
Always one of those West Coast teams.
And it was always wacky because the energy was weird. You know, kind of like Thursday night games have a weird energy to them. Yeah. Same thing with those week one late Monday night games. But it's a very curious scheduling wrinkle this year.
Is this going to happen more often?
I think so. I think they're going to try to get games
keep happening this year.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any more Monday doubleheaders or not, but I think the NFL is going to try to get games at different times on different days. You know, they started having those Saturday games late in the season.
I do like that. I think I would like NFL on like 5 days a week.
Yeah, give us a couple days to just chill.
Yeah,
but
maybe Friday. Give us Friday off.
Yeah, maybe Wednesday off. But otherwise. Let's go. Yeah. Let it rip, Tater Chip. So welcome into the Week 3 recap. We are going to be breaking down every game from Week 3, including the 2 Monday Night Football games. The Eagles dispatched the Buccaneers in Game 1, and the Bengals are up 16-9 right now on the Rams with about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So we'll see how that game turns out. Addy, it was another week of insane IDP scoring, I feel like, across the board.
Yeah, more of the same. It's been awesome. It's been a great start to the year. A lot of the guys that we were excited about, they've come through for us. There have been a few letdowns, but we'll get into all of it. Yeah,
defensive line going early in the best ball drafts feels like it's paying off. Feels like the best players in the NFL this year are edge rushers like TJ Watt and Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa. So if you went DL early in best ball, I think you've been richly rewarded thus far this season. But let's jump right into the recap, Addy, and let's start with Saints-Packers. This was a game. Derek Carr, AC joint sprain. It sounds like he might be out for a little bit, so we're going to get Jameis Winston back in the mix, which is like a nice little treat. I feel like every season I want just a little bit of Jameis, just for a little bit of chaos. His weird pregame kind of warm-up where he's stretching all weird and
throw some picks.
Give our IDPs some more points.
Yeah, it's fun for everybody, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk about 2 players in particular from the New Orleans Saints, and let's start right at the top, Addy. One of the high scorers on the week, Alontae Taylor, 40.65 points. He was averaging 12.13 through weeks 1 and 2, 5 solos, 2 TFLs, a sack, 14 sack yards, 5 passes defended, 1 QB hit, 100% of snaps. I believe Alontae was your second most rostered DB in best ball.
Yes, sir.
And this was why. Playmaker, 100% of snaps. I think he's DB1 right now.
Yeah, he's DB1. Just, scrappy, physical, slot corner. That makes plays. So, just the exactly what you look for in those leagues where you have to start cornerbacks, but also those leagues that are, you're starting 4 defensive backs, and everyone's got tons of defensive backs, and you got to kind of dig deep and look into these corners. Alontae Taylor was one of these guys that I just kept coming back to, adding him pretty much everywhere and all my dynasties. This was an awesome week for me.
Absolutely.
Had him started in every single league pretty much, so almost getting choked up there thinking about it.
We're 4 minutes in, folks, and Addy's about to stroke out on us. But yeah, great week for Alontae Taylor. Great week for the Saints DBs. You had Isaac Yiadom, 21.25 points. Marshawn Lattimore, 11.25. Lonnie Johnson, 10.75. But Pete Werner was the only non-DB to crack the top 5. He was 11.75 points. He's been averaging 9.38 through the first 2 weeks, 99% of snaps, though. Pete has been kind of what we expected out of you, that like mid-tier LB2 sort of guy. I don't know that I want Pete Werner as my LB1, but LB2, 3 option, that feels about right.
He's doing a good job getting the tackles. He's playing all the snaps.
Yeah, 11 total tackles this week.
We just need him to start sprinkling in some big plays. So.
Yep, agreed.
But yeah, Isaac Yiadom, I think he got the playing time because Paulson Adebo was out. So I wouldn't really look too much into him. But yeah, Alontae Taylor, I mean, this is great news. This is good stuff. This is exactly what we want to see. This is a second-round pick. This is a second year. So, I mean, they've typically had really good success with those slot corners there in New Orleans. So, I mean, right back at it again.
That's right. Is this Chauncey Gardner-Johnson sort of follow through after he left to go to the Eagles and then the Lions?
Pretty much, yeah. Seems that way.
Yeah, love to see it. If he's still out there on waivers, go get him, because I think this is a guy you can fire up with confidence in CB-required leagues. For the Packers, Rashawn Gary is back. Not playing full-time snaps, but having full-time production. 37.75 points. He only had 3.05 points per game average the first 2 weeks, but he exploded this week. 3 solos, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, 4 QB hits, and 20 sack yards. Just 38% of snaps, but green across the board. Addy, in the PFF grades, they are working Rashawn Gary back into the lineup slowly, but I think as long as the big man can stay healthy, he's going to pay dividends as the season draws closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, Rashawn Gary. On that third sack, he did the Allen Iverson step over.
No, he didn't.
Yes, it was very nice.
It's so weird to think about Tyronn Lue now as like a respected head coach in the NBA, and like he's probably most famous for getting stepped over by Allen Iverson.
1,000%.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was awesome to see. I did see where he popped up as questionable, so hopefully nothing. He didn't.
Come on, Rashawn, don't do this to us.
Yeah, I mean that is a concern. You know, you hope that he doesn't re-aggravate something, and they shut him down for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, early signs. Wow, this guy is looks all the way back. I mean, the pressures have been amazing. The pass rush snaps continue to go up every single week, and then now the production is as well. So I mean, if he does end up being completely back to full strength by halfway through the season, I mean, there's your league winning type guy.
Yep. So I think that will happen unless we see some kind of setback. I would expect them to continue to ramp up his workload so that they're having Rashawn Gary playing full-time snaps if they're, in the hunt for the playoffs. So next up here, Rudy Ford, DB, 16.25 points. Kenny Clark, defensive tackle required leagues, is a nice target. 15.4 points this week, 11.8 average. Played 84% of snaps. Keyshawn Nixon, there he is again, 11.25 points, 12.5 points per game average the first 2 weeks, playing 74% of snaps. He had 11 rush yards, 24 kick return yards, 3 solos, and a PD. And then Kingsley Enagbare, 9.5 points on just 38% of snaps. So the edge rushing rotation, a little bit yucky there in Green Bay. I'm assuming probably Preston Smith maybe has been the highest snap getter thus far, but and maybe I'd be curious where Lucas Van Ness is coming into this list. But
he keeps declining a little bit.
Does he?
Well, I mean, now that Rashawn Gary is getting healthy,
makes sense.
I mean, it's he just, like you mentioned, it's a nice rotation, so it's going to be hard for him to find snaps, I think.
Yeah, I think Rashawn Gary is going to be the guy you want once they ramp. I'm not comfortable starting Gary even after this performance. I want to see the snaps tick above like 50, 60% just to give us that floor. I mean, because you saw where he was single-digit point output just because the snaps aren't there. I mean, this is not sustainable production playing 38% of snaps. But let's move to Bills Commanders, and we wondered all offseason who was going to be the LB2 alongside Matt Milano. I think Boobam in his waiver wire article called it the AFC equivalent of the Nakobe Dean Eagles LB2 situation in the AFC. And we thought it was going to be Tyrell Dodson. Turns out Terrell Bernard, and he showed out this week, 41.75 points. He had a 13.12 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 5 solos, 2 assists, 2 TFLs, 1 INT, 2 sacks, 11 sack yards, 1 fumble recovery, a PD, 2 QB hits on 87% of snaps, and a 93.1 overall PFF grade. Addy, I don't think a linebacker can play much better than how Terrell Bernard played this week.
No, I mean, I think he's like a top 3 linebacker now at this point. Not rest of the season, but as things stand right now.
As the standings are.
I mean, but yeah, this is what more could you ask for with this? I mean, this was a guy that I think I was at least a little concerned that maybe he doesn't start off hot and they go away from him, because there's a lot of competition behind him. They just drafted Dorian Williams in the 3rd round. Christian Kirksey was there. He retired, so that was nice. But still, there was still just a little bit of concern. But when he starts off this hot and he's making plays, like, it's kind of hard to go away.
You're not setting that guy down.
I don't think so.
No.
And that defense looks good. I mean, but yeah, I think a big reason for that is because of Terrell Bernard, who, I mean, those picks that he's making, I mean, they were nice plays on the ball, like athletic plays. So seems like a pretty solid coverage linebacker. The only problem with Bernard is just him being there in Buffalo, and they don't get the snaps like some of these other, like the Jets linebackers,
As far as the total volume of snaps.
Right, exactly.
He's getting the percentage. Just what was the stat that Evan had? I think the Jets linebackers that almost played a full game more in terms of volume of snaps than the Bills.
Right.
That's nuts.
And that's how it is. It's been like that for like the last few years with the Bills. They don't get they're not on the field as much as some of these other defenses.
Yeah, looking at the rest of the list, it was a dominant week for the defensive line. A.J. Epinesa, 30.85 points on 46% of snaps. He had a solo tackle, a TFL, INT, a sack, a defensive touchdown, a PD, a QB hit. So he's making big plays out there. Yes, Eddie.
Here's a good example. So with Terrell Bernard, he's averaging 45 snaps a game right now. Zaire Franklin's averaging 75 snaps a game right now.
Wow.
Kaiser White's averaging 73.5 snaps per game right now.
What's Mosley?
Let's see here.
And Eddie, where are you pulling this from right now? Would you care to tell us?
These are in the my dynasty ranks in the tabs. I keep track of we call them logs.
Those logs are looking nice, folks.
Yes, sir. Very nice logs.
Not those kind of logs. Game logs.
You want these logs.
You do want these logs.
But yeah, it's not just points logs. We have snap logs, tackle logs. For edge guys, we're going to have pressure logs, pass rush logs. So we're up and up the game for these logs.
We're starting a whole bonfire with all these logs, folks.
Yes, sir. It's going to be hard to flush that toilet with all them logs in there, boy.
I vamped for as long as I could. Did you find C.J. Mosley in there by chance?
76 snaps per game.
Get out of here, man.
So, yeah, week 1, 69 snaps. Week 2, 87 snaps. Week 3, 72 snaps. Whereas
the Bills linebackers,
Terrell Bernard is 54 week 1, 34 week 2, 47 week 3.
Yeah, so it's like you want to start these guys, but if you've got other options like a Franklin or a C.J. Mosley or even a Quincy Williams, it's hard to look away from that snap volume. It's just more opportunities.
It's just something you got to think about. I mean,
I would use it as maybe like a tiebreaker.
It's like, look at Matt Milano, If he doesn't have a big play, like, he's not going to have a good week.
No.
Because he's never been a big, like, tackle rate guy, So, I mean, he has to get, like, a pick or interception or that's the same things, or sack.
Pick, interception, taking the ball away through the air from the other team. Just really make it super wordy. Let's talk about the defensive line guys, though. A.J. Epinesa, we mentioned. Leonard Floyd playing 48% of snaps, scored 25.95 points. It helps to play Sam Howell and the Commanders' offense. 2 solos, 1 assist, 2 TFL, 2 sacks, and 3 QB hits. Ed Oliver, there he is, Eddie. You talked him up as a potential top 5 dynasty defensive tackle. 22.5 points, 12.53 points per game average, weeks 1 and 2, playing 63% of snaps. And then alongside him, Daquan Jones, 19.65 points, playing 52% of snaps. So it was just an open season on the Commanders' offense and Sam Howell against the Bills. That was an absolute beatdown. I think that game was like 30 to 3 or something like that. It was a blowout.
Big Ed looking great.
Big Ed looking very nice.
Yeah. I mean, where would you? I mean, he's definitely top 10.
Top 10 for sure. Absolutely. I think when we did the top 8 defensive or dynasty tackle or defensive tackles for dynasty leagues, I think I had him like 10th or 11th.
Yeah, he was right there on the edge.
You know, he was on the borderline.
We were giving respect to those older guys. You know, those DeForest Buckners, and I don't know if we had Cam Hayward that high.
I had Cam Hayward in my top 8. I think he just missed the cut overall.
Yeah,
but it's a rich.
But he's out now.
Yeah, it's a rich position though, man. We've talked about it all offseason, how loaded defensive tackle is.
It's really good.
But yeah, I think Ed Oliver's, when he got paid that new contract, that was sort of a signal to me of like, oh, they like this guy, right? I mean, for as underwhelming as it feels like he's been, there's a few guys like this, right? Like Derek Brown, Christian Barmore, these like highly drafted, you know, defensive tackles who check a lot of boxes for us, but it just hasn't quite come together. I'm still holding out hope for all of these guys. And defensive tackles are never going to be your most consistent scorers. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it takes as much to crack into that top 10. So I think Big Ed is working his way up the list. We'll have to revisit that conversation a little later in the season to see how we're feeling once you need about a month, about 4 to 6 weeks worth of data for the outliers to settle down just a little bit. Because even right now, after 3 weeks, we're going to have a lot of outliers in the top 5, top 10 of their position just because of some fluky 3 interception games like Jordan Whitehead right now, I think is safety 2 because he had 3 picks in week 1. So let's talk about the Commanders side of things. Kendall Fuller was their leading scorer, 25 points on 99% of snaps, 2 solos, 6 assists, 1 INT, and 3 PDs, 92.1 overall PFF grade. Jamin Davis, there he is, 15.25 points, 12.93 points per game, playing 78% of snaps, 6 solos, 5 assists, and a PD. So not bad for Jamin Davis. Cody Barton right there behind him, though, 13.25 points, 10.75 through the first 2 weeks, 7 solos, 6 assists, 100% of snaps. So Cody Barton is the LB1 in terms of snaps, but Jamin Davis has been outperforming him thus far on fewer snaps through the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I want Cody Barton. It's tough. I mean, I worry that I don't know. The fact that he's not getting more snaps right now, it just worries me that he could be replaced at some point.
Yeah, Cody Barton's never done much for me. I think I'd rather.
And luckily, there's no one. I mean, who's even behind Davis?
I don't even know at this point. Is it still David Mayo?
It's someone that was getting a little bit of hype this offseason, but it doesn't seem like it. I don't know. I don't feel like that would be a thing. Hudson, I think, maybe.
Hudson River.
Yeah, Hudson River.
Hudson River. That'd be a sick name.
But yeah, Cody Barton, man, he doesn't go away. You know, he gets hated on.
He's right there.
A lot of those types, a lot of those linebackers, those ugly little hold your nose linebackers that are fine. That'll get you 10 tackles.
Exactly. What makes Cody Barton nice, he doesn't cost you anything. I'm never excited to have Cody Barton, but yeah, you'll just plug him into your lineup and start him because he's playing 100% of snaps. Mm-hmm. So am I excited? No, but you're probably going to feel pretty good when he gets you, 10 to 15 points every week. Yep. So, Benjamin St. Juste, number 4 with 11.75 points. And then Deron Payne, we mentioned defensive tackles, 10.75 points, 19.82 point per game average. The first 2 weeks, he played 79% of snaps, 70.7 overall defensive grade. Deron Payne looking good as always.
I know. I mean, I think we all kind of thought that he was going to regress, but and he still may. But I mean, a great start to the season.
He's probably top 10 as well, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Chargers and talk about hold your nose and start them. Another big-time week from Kenneth Murray, adding 23.75 points. He's been averaging 13.43, and that's probably skewed because I don't know how much he actually played week 1. He may have. Well, I think he played more in week 1, but just didn't score as well because Eric Kendricks was still on the field. But these last 2 weeks, he's been the LB1, right? Was Kendricks back this week?
No, Kendricks was still out, so he didn't get his revenge on the Vikings.
No, man, what a shame. But yes, 8 solos, 1 assist, 1 TFL, 1 PD, and a pick on 100% of snaps. So until Eric Kendricks is back, I don't know what the injury outlook looks like for Kendricks, but Kenneth Murray has filled in admirably. I think he's going to slot back maybe into that LB2 slot whenever Eric Kendricks is back, and we'll see how it goes when he's back in the number 2 chair, but if you started him these last 2 weeks, good for you.
He got 60 snaps that week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if that's going to be around what he's getting even after Kendricks returns, I mean, he could still be useful for us. Deion Henley was active, but he didn't get out there and play at all. So, yeah, I mean, Kenneth Murray, I mean, who cares? He's 41.4 PFF grade.
Yeah,
so,
still but.
So not
a lot
good
of
there.
What is that, a 29.3 in run defense and a 29.8 tackling grade?
Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Minnesota had some nice lanes because Homeboy took hit the wrong hole and stuff. So
that's what he do.
But yeah, I mean, he does make those big splash plays and he can hit the hell out of some people. So he does kind of pop on screen. But yeah, I mean, he's clearly making a lot of mistakes as well.
He's like a little wind-up toy. You just like when you pull the cars back and they go really fast.
Yeah,
he goes really fast in the wrong direction sometimes. But he is gonna flash from time to time.
He guesses right sometimes.
Yeah, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
It is.
Got to bring it back. Now, Addy, you got to help me as Kentucky boys. This next guy here on the list, Tui Pelotu. I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
Edge rusher, 77% of snaps. Was he filling in for a Joey Bosa or a
Khalil Mack,
perhaps? Because 77% of snaps. So they're just running this guy out there.
Yeah, he's just getting a lot of playing time.
Look at that.
I mean, he's doing great. I mean, he's crushing it. I think he had 9 pressures this week.
21.4 points. He's averaging 11.43 the first 2 weeks. Like we mentioned, 77% of snaps, 4 solos, a TFL, a sack, and 4 QB hits. So, yeah, I think he's probably going to be a hot waiver wire ad this week, I'd say, if he's getting this kind of volume.
Yeah, he has 13 pressures on 73 pass rush snaps, so that is a 17.8% pressure rate. So that's just insane for a rookie. But yeah, I mean, this guy was getting a lot of nice hype this offseason. He had a lot of big fans. I know Brett Coleman was a big fan of Tuli. So, I mean, early signs look pretty good, bud.
Yeah. For me, it's about playing time. Is the team trusting you as a young player to be on the field?
But they're going to keep trusting him.
Absolutely. Look at the production. And the Chargers, finally getting the win column. Your boys are 0-3.
Yeah.
Do you want them to ship Kirk Cousins off? Let's say the Jets call and offer second-round pick.
Yes.
Is that good enough to get Kirk out of there?
And then let's tank, baby. Let's get Caleb.
Let's get Caleb.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this class, so I think if
Caleb, JJ, Addison, Hawkinson,
Woo.
I mean, we're good. We're fine. We're right back in it for a decade.
Yeah, Caleb would be happy to go there. I don't know that he wants to go to Chicago.
He's inside.
Yeah.
That's brand new stadium.
Beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
You got a good head coach. I think Kevin O'Connell's a good coach.
And yeah, the division isn't that scary anymore.
Not with A-Rod gone.
Yeah.
It's just the Bears are a dumpster fire. You got Jordan Love, making just really weird, boneheaded plays every week, it seems like, lining up, not under the center, doing the splits. Did you see that one where he's like doing the splits, throwing the ball? That was kind of fun. And then, you've got the Lions who are scrappy, but just kind of waiting for that Jared Goff Cinderella pumpkin situation to revert back. So, yeah.
That would be great.
You would be very happy about that.
That would be the best case scenario, I think.
I think the NFL is about to see a big turnover in terms of quarterbacks. From talking to people who watch college, it sounds like there could be upwards of 8 to 10 guys who could be in the mix for first round consideration with I think 3 or 4 bona fide top 5 studs.
Wow.
So I think we're headed towards a little bit of a quarterback renaissance. Some of these older guys being phased out, the Derek Carrs, the Jimmy G's, in favor of some of these young guys coming in. It's a fun time to be an NFL fan. Sebastian Joseph Day at number 3, 19.5 points. Alohi Gilman, 16.65. And then Joey Bosa, there he is, 15.95 points. Just 34% of snaps, though. Did he get banged up?
No, they're just slowly bringing him back in.
Okay, there we go.
Khalil Mack still not really doing what we want to see him do. I mean, Tule's kind of doing what we were wanting Mack to do. But, I mean, Mack still is fine, I think, from a pressure standpoint. So I wouldn't be too concerned yet. It's just the way it goes. He's been unlucky to start.
Sounds like someone who planted a little mini flag on Khalil Mack.
Maybe so.
That Chandler Jones, Khalil Mack little mini flag plant double stack.
Oh, the Chandler Jones one, that ain't happening.
They took that one off the books in Vegas. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
11.5% pressure rate for Khalil Mack. So 12 pressures on 104 pass rush snaps. So, I mean, still fine.
Just need him to get home.
Yeah.
Just come home. Come home, Khalil.
Come on home, Khalil.
Let's talk about the Vikings. Danielle Hunter continues to ball out. He might be
stud.
I don't think he's edge one because TJ Watt exists in the league right now, but he's top 5 probably.
Yeah.
Another great week, 20.4 points. He has 32.62 points per game average weeks 1 and 2. 3 solos, 1 assist, 1 sack, 2 TFLs, 1 forced fumble on 92% of snaps.
28.6 through 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness, that's up there. I want to see. Can you pull up our sleeper league and see where he is in terms of edge rushers right now?
He's edge 2. It's
TJ.
TJ's edge 1.
Yeah, and then he's edge 2.
Edge 2 is for Danielle. Yeah,
love it.
TJ Watt averaging 38.5 points per game.
Insane. He is absolutely insane. Next up here, Byron Murphy, an awesome cornerback. I think someone called out Byron Murphy. Oh, Johnny did. Of course Johnny did with his 84% success rate in week 2 on the Streaming Quarterbacks article.
Unreal.
Yeah. I mean, his
best in it.
Best finish ever. 84% correct calls, y'all. That's nuts. I think he averages like 72.
Yeah, we're honored to have that thing over at the IDPshow.com.
Smashing. Go check it out. It's going to drop tomorrow night as you're listening to this. It'll be out Tuesday night. Every week, Johnny drops the full article. It's like 7,000 words. And then he does a podcast episode looking at some of his favorite matchups. So be sure to check it out. It's free. TheIDPshow.com, the IDP After Show feed. Go read it. He talked up Byron Murphy this past week. Caleb Evans, 15.75 points on 91% of snaps. Jordan Hicks, 14 points, 8.75 average the first 2 weeks on 100% of snaps. And then Bye Bynum, 14 points. He has 13.62 average weeks 1 and 2, 100% of snaps. Cam Bynum has been a top 12 safety so far this season for IDP, Addy.
Yeah, and the usage hasn't been that bad. I mean, I think it's been trending up as of late, too. Let's see here. He's played 48% of his snaps in the sweet spot.
That's beautiful.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, if you're getting close to 50%, I am very, very interested. So let's talk about a game that I was very surprised by the outcome. Colts, Ravens, in some rain there in Baltimore, starting Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania was back in the building for the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson out with the concussion. The Colts pulled off the upset, 22-19 in overtime. Matt Gay hitting 4 50-plus yard field goals. So felt really dumb making him the highest paid kicker in the league on like a 4-year deal, but he earned every penny of that extension on Sunday, getting us the dub, leading the AFC South right now. You love to see it. Hopefully Anthony Richardson gets back healthy for the next game. So Zaire Franklin, though, continues to ball. 27.15 points, 21.62 average the first 2 weeks. So he's probably sitting at about 24 points per game through the first 3 weeks.
And he has 45 tackles in his first 3 games.
So there you go. That's 15 tackles per game average, if you were wondering.
That's a 255 season
oh my God.
Tackle pace.
That is nuts. Yeah, 15 tackles. Yeah, 4 solos, 11 solos, 4 assists this week, 1 TFL, 1 sack, and 1 QB hit on 100% of snaps. Not grading well, but the dude is just dynamite on the field.
He's got that captain patch too, don't he?
He does. He does.
Sir.
Absolutely the leader of that team right now on the defensive side of the ball. Samson Ebukam has played well so far. This Colts pass rush, I think Connie sent us a stat that they might be tied for first in the league right now with sacks.
I could see it, man. They do look really good.
Yeah,
I thought Abikim looked awesome.
He's been dynamite, like a supercharged version of Unique Ngakoue since he was basically replacing Ngakoue. 22.5 points. He had 10.4 average the first 2 weeks. 4 solos, a sack, 2 TFLs, 1 forced fumble, 1 QB hit on 64% of snaps. And then Kwity Paye, Addy. We've been waiting for the breakout. I think when we actually talked about this guy on the top edge rushers episode we did this offseason, I think the clip we actually cut out was we're just waiting for it to come together with Kwity Paye. It's coming together so far this season.
Yeah, a sack in every game so far this season, so 3 on the year. Now, the sack in this game came off a muff snap that Lamar had to fall on.
Yep.
And Kwity was the first one to touch him. But still, hey.
All counts the same.
That's right.
It all spins the same, brother.
That's right. But, yeah, I mean, Kwity Paye's been great. DeForest Buckner's been great. Ebicam's been great. Dio
Odengbo.
Yes, he's been good.
Buckner,
so, it's
been
fine.
good. Yeah.
Grover Stewart.
Yep.
Y'all got a really good defensive line.
Yeah, with EJ Speed, basically, John pointed out, playing third down, essentially, for Shaq Leonard.
I watched that game, and what I noticed was every snap that mattered, like in any of those like high-pressure situations, it's EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin.
Yep.
Like Shaq Leonard, and he was looking like
it just
bad.
doesn't look the same, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's sad.
It is sad. Just kind of lumbering after the play and stuff. And,
just doesn't have the same juice.
Yeah.
And I think John, I think it's important to point out, like John did, that Shaq has not been replaced by EJ Speed totally. He's lost his role on third down to Speed. I think around this table, our argument would be, I think by season's end, you could see EJ Speed fully replace Shaq Leonard, and that's if Shaq Leonard can hold up for an entire season.
Yeah, and that's why we've been saying pick up EJ Speed lately. We're not saying pick him up and start him.
No,
but
just
we do think his time is going to come.
Yep. And then Julian Blackmon there at number 4, 15 points, 6 solos, 6 assists, and 100% of snaps.
He's been awesome. He missed a sack. He couldn't wrap up Lamar. Lamar wiggled out of a few sacks yesterday.
He's so slippery.
Yes.
It's insane. Yeah, and Julian Blackmon also had a TFL. Let's talk about the Ravens, though, Addy. And I think the player who's going to be getting the headline this week is my flag plant. Not feeling great about a lot of these guys. Devondre Campbell's hurt. Isaiah McDuffie's coming in now for my top 12 linebacker call. Aaron Donald hasn't been doing much, but Kyle Hamilton. There you go. He's back. He's back on the board, folks. Kyle Hamilton finally, after averaging less than 4 points the first 2 weeks, 48.85 points. Now, is this sustainable? Yes, of course it is. I expect almost 50 points every game moving forward. No, this was what we were waiting for based on the underlying metrics that Kyle Hamilton had. The snap count, the alignment, the talent, the opportunity. He's going to have these boom weeks. I think he's going to be frustrating a lot of the times too, but this is the kind of playmaking ability I expected from Hamilton. It helped that I think all 3 sacks were completely unblocked. So
yeah, they were all the exact same.
Maybe block Kyle Hamilton, guys. What do we do? Like, I think Gardner Minshew was like turning. He's like, oh God, there's Kyle Hamilton. Smash.
I don't think he ever turned, dude. I think I'm not sure that Minshew didn't get high before this game. He needs to be drug tested, I think.
That's a great point.
All 3 of these sacks were the exact same. It was Hamilton coming off the left side. Minshew not even looking right at all and like backpedaling like 5 to 7 yards and then just getting like decleated.
Just absolutely
3 times
smacked.
in a row. The same exact play 3 times in a row. Also Minshew to add to the I think he needs to get drug tested. He also ran out of the back of the end zone.
Yep.
Pulled to Orlovsky.
So
I mean,
they didn't call it.
What's going on?
I don't know.
Minshew, what did you do before the game, bro?
Had some gummies and tried to play quarterback in an NFL game. You'd love to see it. I wanted to pull up this stat. Yeah, Colts tied for second in the NFL right now with 12 sacks. So thank you, Connie, for that stat there. But
wow,
yeah, Minshew he's fine. He's like a C minus.
He's fine.
C plus.
That's a tough game.
It's a very tough game.
It's a tough game to
on
play.
the road against Baltimore.
I noticed Ajabo went out early in that one. I think with some type of hip injury. They didn't have Odafe Owe. I did think that Jadeveon Clowney looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought he was moving pretty well. And the linebackers are just awesome there. Roquan, such a beast. I thought he was awesome in overtime. And then Patrick Queen looks pretty good out there, too.
Absolutely. The third and fourth scorers here. Number 2 was Brandon Stevens with 20.25 points. But Roquan Smith, 19.6 points, 17.68 points per game average. So he's probably sitting around like 18.5 points average now. 4 solos, 8 assists, half a sack, 1 PD, 1 QB hit, 100% of snaps, 89.9 overall defensive grade by PFF. Patrick Queen, 12.5 points this game, 17.68 average the first 2 weeks. 7 solos, 5 assists, 84% or 84 snaps. That's good for 100%, 63.1. And then you mentioned Devion Clowney. He's at number 5 with 9.85 points.
Yeah, got himself a half sack. So.
There you go. 12.18 points per game average. So to Devion Clowney's been fine. Been totally fine the first few weeks. So let's move to the game that almost set the record for most points in NFL history. Broncos fall to the Dolphins, 20-70. This was not ganging up on your little brother in Madden just to teach him a lesson. This was an actual NFL football game that happened between 2 professional teams. And let's talk quickly about the Broncos because there's not much to see here, folks. Nick Bonito, 15 points, was their leading scorer, 64% of snaps. Someone named DeLauren Turner-Yell was the next guy, 15 points as well, 100% of snaps. Zach Allen, there he is, 12.75 points on 70% of snaps. Alex Kingleton, 12.25 points, just 9.25 points per game average. The first 2 weeks, 5 solos, 4 assists, and a TFL on 89% of snaps. Look at those PFF grades. Dear God, they're all red except for pass rush, and they're all south of 30, if you're wondering how well Alex Singleton is playing. And then Jonathan Harris, D-tackle, 7.75 points. Maybe one of the worst overall team performances we'll see for IDP all year.
Yeah, that was really bad. Josie Jewell, he left that one early, so maybe we can blame it on that. There
you go.
Once Jewell was out, everything went to hell.
They're just like, screw it. Did you see that picture of like 7 guys for the Broncos laid out on the ground in the middle, like at the aftermath of a play? Like the Dolphins are like down the field and there's like bodies. It's just like a war scene.
I'm sure. It was just touchdown after touchdown. They were all just long runs and
Felt like NFL Street, like I was waiting for Tua to like kick off his like lineman and do a spin and throw it behind his back or something.
Yeah, man, that was insane. But yeah, Drew Sanders got to play.
Got some Drew Sanders run.
Thanks to Josie Jewell leaving the game early. So we'll see what type of injury this is for Josie Jewell. But if it's anything serious, we could be approaching Drew Sanders' season. He didn't do much in the stat column. I think he just picked up a tackle. But it's someone we're super excited about. I think he was an early 3rd round pick.
Yep.
Nick Bonito has been playing really well. I just had his pressure numbers pulled up.
Pull up Jonathan Cooper, too.
He's been fine, but Nick Bonito's has got 7 pressures on 48 pass rush snaps. That's a 14.6% pressure rate. Cooper has a 7.1% pressure rate right now. That's 4 pressures on 56 pass rush snaps, but he has been productive. 3.25 points week 1, 28.5 week 2, so he's kind of coasting off that, and then 6.5 this week.
Yeah.
But, Baron Brownie's coming back at some point. Randy Gregory is so frustrating. It's either like a 20-point game or it's 0. He's just frustrating. But
I think this Broncos defense is going to be pretty frustrating.
Yep.
The linebackers haven't quite panned out the way we want. The defensive linemen are so hit or miss. I was excited about Zach Allen, probably averaging about 10 points per game through the first 3 weeks. So
I'm still okay with Zach Allen. I think he'll be okay.
He's not a guy I'm panicking about, but it just hasn't really been there through the first 3 weeks, which is frustrating. Because if you're rolling these guys out and they're not quite getting double digits for you, it's hard to keep putting them back in the lineup. So about the Dolphins side, though, Emmanuel Ogbah on just 37% of snaps scored 24.45 points, a solo, 2 assists, a TFL, an INT, a sack, a PED, a QB hit, and a 79.8 PFF grade. But let's talk about the safety, maybe like the safety 1? Close to it. Javon Holland, 21.5 points, 18.38 points per game through the first 2 weeks. He had 7 solos, 1 assist, 2 forced fumbles, and a PD on 74% of snaps, 95.6 overall PFF grade with a 94 grade in coverage. Javon Holland has been a revelation in this Vic Fangio defense, Addy.
Yeah, he's averaging 53% of his snaps out of the sweet spot right now. So that's really nice. I mean, that his like previously his career usage was like 30% in the sweet spot. So I mean, he's up like 22% at the moment. The tackle numbers are insane right now. He's averaging 11 tackles a game, 19.4 points per game right now. So that's defensive back 5.
Wow.
He's just been awesome, dude. 16.4% tackle rate. Yeah, and then the PFF grades are amazing. Guy's a playmaker. Like this is someone that is skyrocketing up the dynasty ranks. I mean, he's gonna be
top 5.
You want him over Brisker right now?
I've always been a Holland guy. I've had him the past 2 seasons in our main league. This feels like a player that Vic Fangio loves to have on his defense, and that's what gives me optimism.
If Caham doesn't have 3 sacks this week, Caham puts up another
stinker.
Oh
yeah,
Javon Holland is like
he's getting up there now. I want to see, does this kind of usage hold? That's the only like fly in the ointment right now for me is like
Brandon Jones is coming back.
Yeah,
maybe.
What is it? Does he stay north of 50% over the course of the season?
Yeah,
because we've seen him. He's had big plays. Didn't he have like a ton of sacks in that game where they were playing like a lot of cover zero, just like blitzing the quarterback nonstop?
He can do a ton of different stuff.
He's just a great player.
Yep.
And he's finally getting used in a way that's beneficial for IDP. So this team is playing well. I don't see Vic Fangio going anywhere if this continues. Hopefully Javon Holland, the usage keeps up. But for right now, this guy's not leaving your lineup until further notice. And there's old AVG, Addy. Number 3, 14.15 points. 15.12 average the first 2 weeks. He's got 2 solos, 1 assist, 1 TFL, fumble recovery, and a QB hit. 83.8 overall grade. I mean, AVG's looking GOOD in the PFF grades and for IDP. So good on you, Mr. Rip Van Winkle. And then rounding out the list here, Kader Kohu, cornerback, 13.75 points, 14.22 average, weeks 1 and 2, 74% of snaps. Been a nice little fill-in. We talked about him when Jalen Ramsey went down.
Yep.
And then Deshaun Elliott to round things out, 13.25 points, 12.62 the first 2 weeks, 74% of snaps.
Jalen Phillips left this one early with oblique injury.
Oh, no.
So he's picked up another injury. Not great. Bradley Chubb had a bad game. You know, this was a revenge game for Bradley Chubb. Hate to see it.
Yeah.
Get beat by what? 60 almost.
Get beat by 50.
Yeah.
Where the hell is your oblique? I feel like this is one of those where I'm like, you know, it's like the old joke from Patrice O'Neal's stand-up, Spell Restaurant, with like a gun to his head, and he's like saying goodbye to his mama. It's like, Josh, where's the oblique? I'm like making sure my will and testament is updated. So where is the oblique on your body part? Any guesses, Addy? Where is the oblique?
I feel like oblique is something I don't have. Like oblique is something you form after working out.
It's true. I believe from looking at this, it's like this part. They're the waist muscles. The oblique muscles connect the ribs, top of the hip bone, the fascia of the abdominals, and the lower back. So I think it's like this thing right here. It's our love handles. So we don't have... Jalen Phillips does not have what we have there.
That doesn't seem good if you're going to need bending around tackles. And
not great. Just sucks.
Yeah.
Because
he was mauled by offensive linemen.
Yeah, he was primed for such a good season, and to pick up 2 injuries this early into the season is no bueno.
That's right. It's that damn shirt. It's cursed.
It is cursed. It was you coming on the Camp Curl train. You did this. You should have stayed anti-curl.
Hey, Kevin Curl looking kind of... Man. Meanwhile, Lante Taylor out here balling.
Oh. Talking about balling, though, Addy, let's talk about Patriots, Jets. I'm just looking at this Matthew Judon log.
He's awesome.
And he's continued his wicked ways of playing one half of the season. 32.2 points, 18.52 the first 2 weeks, 2 solos, 2 assists, 2 TFLs, 2 sacks, 1 safety, 3 QB hits, 67% of snaps. Christian Barmore, we were just talking about him earlier, 17.2 points after 1.62 points per game average the first 2 weeks. 65% of snaps. Juwan Bentley, 17 points on 100% of snaps after a quiet start to the season, just 8.62 through the first 2 weeks. Kyle Duggar, 14.75 after 7.5 the first 2 weeks, 100% of snaps. And then Jabril Peppers be hot, 13.75 points on 95% of snaps.
Hey, Pepper's kind of useful.
Kind of useful.
The usage is definitely good. I'll get that pulled up here. But yeah, I mean, 95% of the snaps. And
that's surprising.
Adrian Phillips is not getting any snaps anymore. So I mean,
so next week we'll have Adrian Phillips 100% of snaps.
Exactly.
It's how this thing goes. We talked about Bentley. Bentley is definitely useful. 17 points, just 8.62 though the first couple weeks. So a little bit frustrating, but he is playing 100% of snaps. But Matthew Judon is locked into your lineups right now.
45% in the sweet spot for Jabril Peppers.
That's not bad.
A sweet spot, if this is your first time tuning in, it's sweet spot is defensive line, slot, and box.
There you go. For your first time tuning in, Adam yells a lot. We do the board. Probably don't take advantage of it enough.
It's the only one we use now.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. There's I don't know, what is this one?
Hey, guys.
Oh, that's Eric.
Somebody call 911. I don't feel so good.
Yeah, that was the Denver Broncos playing the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about the Jets' assets here. Jordan Whitehead continues to ball out. Not coasting. He had that big week 1 performance. I think he's DB2 right now.
Yeah, but he's been solid.
He's been really good.
The tackle numbers have definitely gone up since that first game.
Yes, had 10 tackles, including 9 solos, a pass defended, 22.62 points per game average the first 2 weeks. Clocks in with 16 here, leading scorer for the Jets on 100% of snaps. Quincy Williams, we mentioned earlier, these Jets defenders are playing a ton of snaps. So Quincy is averaging right around like 13.5 points through the first 3 weeks. 96% of snaps. Adrian Amos, he was the Chuck Clark replacement, 12.25 points, 6 solos, 1 assist, a PD, 100% of snaps. Quinnen Williams, Big Q, 11.25 points, 12.88 the first 2 weeks, so probably right around like 12 and a half points or so.
Yeah, just no sacks yet.
Weeks. Yeah.
Don't get frustrated. His time is coming.
Yep, 1 solo, 1 PD, 3 QB hits, and then CJ Mosley, 11 points, 13 points the first 2 weeks, so averaging 12 through 3, 100% of snaps. You're firing up CJ Mosley with confidence every week, especially if this team continues to play an astronomical number of total snaps.
Yeah, and I think they're going to continue to do that.
Yes, probably, because that offense sucks. Unless they go get like a Kirk Cousins, which I think if you're Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, and you're not picking up the phone and calling around on some of these teams that are sort of flatlining a little bit, if you're not calling after Matthew Stafford, if you're not calling after Kirk Cousins, I think that's like negligence, on-the-job negligence. You got to pick up the phone.
Yep. Jordan Whitehead, 19 tackles over his last 2 games, so that's very nice. He has a 9.3% tackle rate, but 75.3 tackles per game so far snaps per game this year, which is most among all defensive backs.
Wow. Hey, we'll take it.
Yep.
If these
Julian
trends
Blackmon's
continue.
is also right there at 75.
There you go, folks. Couple of late targets that, if you did the punt DB strategy, you're feeling very good about your DBs thus far, because you probably scooped up a lot of Volontae Taylor. You probably scooped up a lot of Julian Blackmon and Jordan Whitehead. And you did feel great about it at the time, but feeling pretty good now.
Cambina.
Yeah. Texans, Jags, Texans, Blake Cashman, the leading scorer, 23.2 points. He was probably, I think that he was probably the Denzel Perryman replacement, or maybe 2020 was. Were Christian Harris and Denzel Perryman both out this week?
No, Christian Harris was there.
He was there.
He's just like
just
LB3 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very sad. Really hate to see that, but hey, good on Blake Cashman. 23.2 points, 3 solos, 3 assists, a pick, fumble recovery, 2 PDs, 63% of snaps. But Henry 2020 has been the story for me in Houston so far this season. 14.5 points, 95% of snaps.
Yep.
6 solos, 4 assists, and a PD. 55.1 grade on the PFF, so not the best.
Who cares? He's a rookie.
Better than Christian Harris.
Definitely better than
That's
Christian Harris.
the only bar you have to clear in Houston is you have to be better than the guy scoring in like the 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he's out there, and he probably is, he's probably still out there on your waivers, gotta go get him.
Got to get him.
I mean, because Denzel Perryman is always someone that's, could be banged up or
Already banged up.
definitely banged up now. So, yeah, I mean, if he ends up being that linebacker one there in Houston, that team's going to play a ton of snaps. Like, he's already, his first game as a starter was 10 tackles?
Yep.
So, I mean, expect a lot of that.
Expect a lot of that. And it's always interesting to me that the guy, we're kind of joking like, pay attention to Henry 2020. That was the guy that this regime drafted.
Yes.
They prioritized this guy.
From Alabama, just like D'Amico Ryans.
And Denzel Perryman. Those were the two guys that they brought in via free agency and via the draft.
And also, like, that team is young, and, like, that's what's powering that team right now. All those young guys, C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Will Anderson, Henry 2020, Jalen Petre when he comes back. You know, I mean, it's that team's
going to be feisty.
Yes.
It's going to be a tough out. C.J. Stroud looks like offensive rookie of the year so far through 3 weeks.
He looks really good.
So,
Nico Collins, another one that I didn't mention. But, I mean, yeah, that team is young, and those young guys are performing.
Yep. Speaking of, Will Anderson, 13.5 points, 12.18 points per game through the first 2 weeks, 60% of snaps. And then rounding out the top 5, Shaquille Griffin. Eric Murray still firing up Will Anderson with confidence, Addy?
Oh, yeah.
Edge 2, probably?
Yeah. Yeah, no worries at all. I mean, his pressure numbers have been good as well. I think he's got like a 14% pressure rate right now, 13.6,
wow.
11 pressures on, 81 pass rush snaps. So, I mean, that's you can't ask for anything more than that from a rookie. You know, I mean, that's just good stuff.
So let's talk about, we mentioned it maybe the first time for some folks tuning in. If it is, pressure rate is indicative of future performance. It's one of those leading indicators you want to look for. We don't chase sacks on this show. We look at things like pressure rate, pass rush, win rate, the metrics that tell us a defensive lineman is good at their job. Addy, what's a good kind of bar to clear for pressure rate? You want to see your guys north of what percentage?
I think the average is usually like 10 to 11%.
So north of that, if you're north of 12, you're probably doing
you're above average.
Above average.
And then some of these guys get into like the 17 to 20% range. You know, those are your elite pass rushers. But yeah, I mean, it's usually the pressure numbers don't lie. I mean, it usually correlates with who the best players in the league are. But yeah, I mean, pressures are it's how much they're affecting the play. Whereas sacks, you know, you can kind of luck into a sack. Some sacks are coverage sacks.
You can luck into it if Gardner Minshew's high as balls and doesn't look your way as you're coming screaming off the corner.
Yeah, not all sacks are equal.
Nope.
So, pressure's just digging a little further and giving us something that is a little more predictable.
Yep. It's like what T.J. Watt is doing to earn those sacks is a dominant pass rusher. You watch him work, and it's not like, oh, well, he's just lucking into the sack because the quarterback rolled out of the pocket, was flushed out of the pocket his way, or we mentioned Kwity Paye fell on Lamar Jackson with the botch. Like, the elite guys earn those sacks. And when you're in the backfield all the time, you luck into sacks too. And that's how you end up with like 15, 16, 17 sacks.
And it can kind of calm your nerves if you're worried about a guy that hasn't been productive. Like Myles Garrett, you know, to start the season, I think like his first 2 weeks, like he wasn't really that productive for, you know, what you had to pay to get him. But the pressure numbers, the win rate, everything was still elite. And then look what happes. 48 points, I think.
Puts the Titans in a freaking body bag.
Yeah. He was unbelievable.
Did you see the clip? I'm sure you did, of him kind of running back and forth on the defensive line, and the tight ends, I think were kind of shadowing him to the point where they got to delay a game. The Titans literally got to delay a game because they were so worried about shading to wherever Myles. So Myles Garrett's just been doing some crazy stuff, hitting them with the kind of Allen Iverson crossover. Yeah, and then just find the clip. Like, just search Twitter for Myles Garrett, and you'll see this clip from this week. Let's talk about the Jags, though. Foyce Aluaka, no surprise, 14.5 points, 16 and a quarter average the first 2 weeks. 8 solos, 6 assists, 100% of snaps. This is just what Foyesade does, folks. He is LB1 or LB2, depending on how you feel about Roquan Smith for a reason. Rayshon Jenkins, 11.25, 13.12 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 98% of snaps. Rayshon has been very solid. Trayvon Walker, 10.5 with a 10.75 average the first 2 weeks, 84% of snaps. Devin Lloyd, Addy, let's talk about Devin Lloyd. 12.25 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 8.75 this week. But the headline to me, Chad Muma, we had a Chad Muma sighting this game, and it had the group chats and the Twitter in a little bit of a panic.
Yep. And that's what we talked about all off season. That's why we avoided Devin Lloyd, because this dude was lurking. We saw it last year. And very similar thing. I mean, he started off the year red hot as a rookie. Devin Lloyd did. First 4 weeks, the PFF grades were fantastic. The production was really good, and then it just all went to hell.
The bottom fell out.
Yep. And so we saw this potentially coming. Like this, you shouldn't be shocked if, I mean, you know, this, we told you not to do this.
Yeah.
So if you did it,
I hope for your sake, maybe this was just a 1 week anomaly, but he got benched. Like, make no mistake, standing on the sidelines next to the coaches while Chad Muma was out there, Devin Lloyd got benched. Addy, will you pull up the pass rush metrics for our boy Josh Allen down here at number 5, 7.5 points, but 21.52 points per game average the first 2 weeks. He had 2 assists and 3 QB hits, 70% of snaps. What has Mr. Josh Allen been doing so far this season?
so pressure-wise, he has 10 pressures on 83 pass rush snaps. That's good for a 12% pressure rate, so that's fine. But, yeah, I mean, he's still living off that week 1 performance, you know, 39 points to start out and then 3 1/4 and then 7.5 this last week. That's kind of what Josh Allen has been
Pretty boom or bust.
Yes, and so I think probably a good time to send out some offers if you're a Josh Allen believer, which I am. I still think that he's a great dynasty asset. I think that maybe getting out of Jacksonville would be nice. I don't think he will. I think they're going to end up paying him some money.
So
they
too.
can't let him leave.
No. Especially when you have Trayvon, who's coming along, but like 10.5 points average, that kind of feels like what we have come to expect from Trayvon Walker. I mean, I talked about it this offseason. I think year 3, year 4 is when you want to be in on Trayvon Walker, because I think if you're plugging him in, hopefully it's in like those super deep leagues where you're starting maybe 4 defensive linemen. Because I don't know that I'm plugging in Trayvon Walker in, like, you know, our league that starts 2 defensive end edge rushers.
Yeah, no.
I'm just not interested.
No, I don't really want him as a flex because the upside just doesn't seem there yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So let's move
like
to.
What's his ceiling been? It's been like a 25-point game. That's been his highest.
Does he have any 30-point games?
I don't think so.
Thus far in his career?
I don't think so. And the pressure rate this year is not very good, at least to start. I mean, 6.7%. So
That's not great,
just
Bob.
6 pressures on 89 pass rush snaps. So does have 12 tackles. That's solid, but still, we need those sacks.
We're a little too early. We're just a little too early on Trayvon.
Yeah,
just wait.
The guy still is like 22, 23.
just be
like
patient.
It could you know, we could look up in a couple of years and this guy be like a Chris Jones type.
Yeah.
You know, just sometimes it takes a little bit of time to develop, and Trayvon definitely seems like that type.
He will develop. Just give him time. We've seen enough to know this guy's not like a total. Who was the guy that is in San Francisco now?
Yeah,
that was
Clelin Ferrell.
Clelin Ferrell. This guy's not a Clelin Ferrell, y'all.
I think you see progressions year to year.
Yep.
I mean, just like we saw with I'm thinking of the defensive tackle in Philly, not Jalen Carter, but Jordan Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jordan Davis, a lot of us were kind of scared, like the way he looked year 1, because he was kind of, I don't know, looked kind of big and like out of shape, and
Just like a good,
wasn't really that impressive. But
yeah, just could be good for the NFL, maybe
Yeah.
not for IDP.
But year 2, I think a lot more people are optimistic. The guy came in looking good. Same type stuff can happen for Trayvon Walker.
These guys aren't used
That's how
to
it
being
goes.
professional football players.
It's a different level.
Takes a little bit of time.
You really gotta. I mean, it's one of those deals where like these guys probably thought that they
Yes.
were good at football or thought that they knew football. It's like they have no
then
idea.
you come in and work alongside Fletcher Cox, who's like a 10 or 11-year vet, and you're like, oh, I have no idea what it means to be a professional football player.
Yeah, you can't just win off your athleticism anymore,
Unless you're Jalen Carter.
Right.
In which case, you're like a year one phenom.
Yep.
Dude's sick. Let's talk Titans-Browns. This was another ugly game. Mainly because Deshaun Watson is continuing to do some of the dumbest stuff we've ever seen a quarterback do, so I'm sure the Browns are thrilled. They paid him $230 million, guaranteed. But the defense has been probably the best defense in the NFL so far this season. But let's talk Titans first. Azeez Al-Shaair, there he is, 21.45 points, just 7 points per game average the first 2 weeks, but he played 92% of snaps, 3 solos, 6 assists, 2 TFLs, a sack, and 1 QB hit. Roger McCreary was fun this week, fired him up in our main league, 20.8 points on 83% of snaps.
Who suggested that?
Was it you?
Johnny?
Was
I'm
it
guessing?
Johnny? Yeah, maybe John, one of the J's.
Yeah. I figured that was in Johnny's article or something.
It probably was. I do a mix of like John's rankings and Johnny's cornerback article to see who I should start. It may have been Roger McCreary. May well have been. 5 solos, 5 assists, a TFL, a sack, and 1 QB hit on 83% of snaps. Danico Autry just continues to do it. Talk about not sexy, not spectacular, but super solid. 20.1 points, 19.88 points per game average the first 2 weeks. So he's probably averaging right around 20 points per game, 55% of snaps, 2 solos, a TFL, a sack, 1 forced fumble, 2 QB hits. Sean Murphy bunting, 15 points on 86% of snaps. And then Christian Fulton, 13.25 on 94% of snaps. So let's talk about Danico Autry for a second, Addy. We mentioned him the first 2 weeks because it was like, oh, look at Danico Autry. He's doing the damn thing. No Harold Landry sightings this week in the top 5, but there's Danico Autry on the podium, I think, for the 3rd straight week, Addy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely 3rd straight week. 25 in week 1, 14.5 week 2, 20.1 this week.
Just so solid, man.
13.5 pressure rate. That's 12 pressures on 89 pass rush snaps. And then, 10 tackles, 3.5 sacks. Guy's good. Guy's very good. The grades are really good. I mean, he's up there, I think, inside the top 20 of edge rushers. Harold Landry has not been great to start, but I think that's kind of expected with him recovering.
Like Rashawn Gary, slowly getting worked back in. His time will come.
But his stats are there. I mean, they're letting Landry get out there, and they're not, holding him back at all. But the production's not there yet. So, the highlights are going to be that Watson throwing the ball backwards. But Watson did a pretty good job. I just
can't. I just think he's broken mentally. I just am not there with this guy.
A lot of pressure for sure.
A lot of weight of guilt and shame crushing this man's soul for all of eternity.
Definitely, yeah. Arden Key, he just missed a sack in this game. It was on the first drive. He couldn't wrap up. Deshaun Watson was really good about wiggling out of a lot of these wrap-ups. Amani Hooker was really good. Again, he was around the ball a ton. He did give up a long touchdown to Amari. Tannehill, though, he was awful. So, I mean, that Cleveland defense was really good. 13 of 25 for 104 yards. He got sacked 5 times. Henry just had 20 yards on 11 carries. So, I mean, they couldn't do anything.
The Titans team stinks.
They stink.
They're
bad.
old.
They're very old. Hopkins is old. Can't separate.
It's just like we've done this time and time again with the Titans wide receivers. Julio Jones. Oh, my God. Yeah. We got Julio. Oh, wait, no, he's out of the league.
Yeah.
DeAndre, oh, my God. We got Nuke Hopkins. Oh, he's probably going to be out of the league next year. Mm-hmm. They're just holding on. They just refuse to just take the bitter pill, rebuild. Vrabel's way too proud for that. He's like, no, we will eke out 7 or 8 wins and be in like a Week 18
they're in
playing
a bad
game
spot.
for the AFC South probably.
They're in a tough spot as a franchise, you know. I mean, they kind of have to do that. I mean,
just turn the page though. See what you got with Will Levis, and then if he sucks, guess what? You're in position to take a quarterback top 3 probably next season.
It is true. It's like you guys aren't winning the Super Bowl.
No, come on.
Just reset. You guys are wanting to build a new stadium in Tennessee.
Get some excitement. Tannehill's been great for you all. Derrick Henry's been great for you all. It's time to turn the page. Don't be afraid.
They hang on to those stars there in Tennessee. It's
Yes,
just
they
been
do.
the way they've done things
Forever.
forever.
Yep. It's like players get old. They get slow. And
They're just left holding the bag.
that's right. So keep doing it, Titans. As a Colts fan, please keep trotting Tannehill and Hopkins and Derrick Henry out there all you want. That'd be great. Hey, you mentioned it. Myles Garrett, little quiet the first 2 weeks, 11.53 points per game average, but exploded for 48.45 points on 77% of snaps, 93.3 overall PFF grade, 4 solos, 1 assist, 3 TFLs, 3.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 5 QB hits. If it weren't for Kyle Hamilton, Myles Garrett would be getting the episode title this week. But
Kyle Hamilton, your flag plant.
yeah, he was the leading scorer on the week. Him and then Garrett and then Bernard.
You think anyone? I know people had him started, but you think a lot of people probably had K-Ham on the bench?
Oh, I know a lot of people had K-Ham on the bench. My
Yeah.
neighbor had K-Ham on the bench. I think
no.
DJ KT said he had K-Ham on the bench.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to – I guess it depends on how many DBs you're rolling out there and, like, what your options are.
If you start 4, I feel like he's in the lineup,
But it's like
most likely.
there are certain players that I put into the bucket of I'm really going to feel stupid if this guy goes for, like, 30, 40 points on my bench.
And he's in that.
And he's in that bucket just
Wow.
because I think he has that kind of upside. Now, he won't get to play, Gardner Minshew and the Colts every week and get 3 unblocked sacks, but he has that big play upside. So you just don't get that a lot from your DBs.
And, when the usage is like it was in that game, I do think, he's a top flight safety. It just, is he going to be in that same role every single week?
We'll
It
see.
hasn't been like that.
We'll see. Yeah. That's what I'm excited to see is like, will this perk up the coaching staff's ears to say like, oh, we gave K-Ham this opportunity and he absolutely balled out this week. Maybe we should get him some more pass rushing opportunities, a little more sweet spot alignment. He's already out there for all the snaps anyway. So
Yeah, I don't see how they couldn't.
at safety, I don't mind mixing in some like safe floor guys, but he just has that explosive upside that not a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
So I think there were plenty of people, though, who were sick of him through the first 2 weeks, and understandably, and had him on the bench. Hopefully you didn't bench Myles Garrett. Don't ever bench Myles Garrett. But let's move on to the rest of the team here. Denzel Ward, 15.5 points. Alex Wright, 15.5 on 35% of snaps. Martin Emerson, DB, 96% of snap, 10.75 points. And then Ogbania Okoronkwo, 9.9 points, 10.6. He's probably right around 10.25 points average the first 3 weeks on 56% of snaps.
Za'Darius Smith still struggling for us.
Yep.
But, pressure-wise, he's been solid. He'll be fine. His time's coming.
What about the linebackers, though, Eddie? Still just a big old stinking mess.
Yeah, but, I thought they were somewhat impressive in that game. JOK flashed a little bit. I think he made some nice plays. Anthony Walker was okay.
I just don't want anything to do with
But,
them.
yeah.
It's certain rooms now, I'm just total stay away. Carolina Panthers. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Total stay away now with Deion Jones, catscratchfever.com or whatever the hell the website was where his dad was writing for the site.
That's right.
No thank you in Carolina. If you want to roll out Deion Jones or Kamu Grugier-Hill or whoever you want to roll out from that group,
I was thinking
Go
Grugier
for
Hill
it.
was going to be good. It was going to be nice for Kamu, but
maybe it was just a weird week. I don't know. Frankie Louvu going out. It's kind of, I
hopefully
think
he's okay. It's a hip
Yeah.
injury for him.
it's not great
Guess we'll get to them.
because Louvu's been good. But, yeah, there's just certain rooms. The Steelers, no thank you. Browns, no thank you. Panthers, nope. Patriots, nope.
Yeah.
There's just certain teams. The usage is just so ugly. I'm not interested at all.
And the upside on all those units is just
Non-existent, really.
right.
Let's talk Falcons. Lions. Jesse Bates continues to ball out for ATL, 21.25 points. Got him another pick. That certainly helps when you have, I think, 3 interceptions on the season. 2 in week 1, 1 in week 3. 19.02 points per game average the first 2 weeks. Adds in 21.25 this week. 6 solos, 5 assists, a pick, and a pass deflected 100% of snaps. So Jesse Bates has been fantastic this season. Caden Ellis, solid once again. 13 points, 14.18 points per game average through the first 2 weeks, 5 solos, 5 assists in a TFL, 100% of snaps. David Onyemata has been, solid, like D tackle 2 option for you. 9.75 points, 12.25 the first 2 weeks, 61% of snaps. There's Grady Jarrett, 9.5 points, 7.17 points per game the first 2 weeks, 74% of snaps. And then Richie Grant, 100% of snaps, 9.5. Richie Grant, been quiet, 7.62 points per game average the first 2 weeks. Had a little bit of a resurgence after a very disappointing rookie season. Played well last year, off to a slow start here in 2023.
He's got another safety in there. That's good.
Jesse Bates, finally.
Yeah.
Giving him a running mate that is every bit the counterparts you want if you're that Atlanta defense. I heard someone else say they needed that kind of like veteran presence for this defense. And they upgraded across the board, bringing in Onyemata on the defensive line, bringing in Caden Ellis at linebacker and Jesse Bates at DB. So they got some adults in the room this go around, but Jesse Bates seems like that kind of heartbeat of the Atlanta defense right now.
Yeah, well, I'll look in that usage here in just a second between him and Richie Grant, but the big story from this game was Troy Anderson left with 4 minutes, and his arm was in a sling afterwards.
Not great.
So I think it's like a shoulder injury, I think is what I was seeing. But,
Gosh, that sucks.
It does. It really sucks. So, I mean, it could be
it's Landman season.
Landman time,
So
which he's got a sister named
Yes, Ocean Trail.
Ocean Trail. So,
She is-
guys, this is not a drill.
This is not a drill. We are talking Ocean Trail Landman season.
Get out there and get this guy.
Forget Taylor Swift. The woman of the week for the NFL is Ocean Trail Landman, who is
right.
a swimmer, by the way.
Of course she is.
Yeah. What else would be happening there with a name like that? But yeah, Nate Landman. Looks like the Landman is going to be back on land for week 4 if Troy Anderson is out.
Sucks, because that is such a fun linebacking duo
Yep.
with Ellis and Troy Anderson.
Why can't we have nice things?
I know, I hate it, but we'll see. Fingers crossed that he's going to be okay. Let's pull up this Richie Grant and Jesse Bates. So Jesse Bates is playing
Primarily deep, I would say, right?
Yeah, pretty much deep. He's playing 28% of his snaps in the sweet spot.
Okay.
But yeah, he's basically paying
78% deep then, I guess.
Yeah, 136 at free safety,
Yep.
and then 4 on the line, 28 in the box, 22 in the slot. So Richie Grant, which I'm pretty sure it wasn't as box heavy as I thought it would be. He's playing 60% of his snaps in the box.
Is he
I'm
really?
sorry, in the sweet
spot.
So 11 on the line.
I would expect more production with that alignment for a guy who's, again, flashed last season.
Same. But I think, you can maybe expect it to come. It's just a slow start.
And Bates is buoyed by the fact he has 3 picks.
Right.
That definitely helps.
Now, Bates does have, week 1 he had 11 tackles, and then last week he had 10 tackles. So, I mean, pretty good. You like to see that.
Jesse Bates probably top 5 safety right now, production-wise, for first 3 weeks.
I think so. But, yeah, I mean, you can't really expect it to stay that way. I mean, again, he is living off those 3 picks.
Maybe a good time to sell Jesse Bates and go buy Richie Grant.
There you go.
If you're getting that kind of
There
alignment.
you go.
60% of snaps in the sweet spot? Yes,
Yeah.
please. Let's talk Lions. Man, some really interesting storylines coming out of this one, Addy. Aiden Hutchinson. We were waiting and waiting patiently. We knew this guy had the eye of the tiger. Finally delivers after 8.5 points per game average the first 2 weeks. He pops off for 36.7 points on 84% of snaps and a 91.8 overall PFF grade, including a 91.9 pass rush grade, 3 solos, 1 assist, 1 TFL, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 2 PDs, and a QB hit. But just as interesting for this Lions defense was Brian Branch. I've said before on this show, a signal for me is when normie NFL Twitter starts talking about defensive players. It's like a little signal for me of like, uh-oh, what's going on with this guy? I need to tune in. I need to pay attention. Brian Branch had the Twitter abuzz. Our boy Greg Rosenthal, but on this show before, was talking up Brian Branch. I think he said something along the lines of a lot of GMs kicking themselves for letting Brian Branch fall to like 45th overall in the draft.
Yeah.
But 30.75 points, 14.38 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 100% of snaps, 11 solos, 3 TFLs, 2 PDs. Brian Branch, Addy, skyrocketing up the rankings right now.
He is a stud. An
Stone
absolute
cold stud.
Like, no concern about him at all. Like, he is someone that is skyrocketing up the ranks. But, yeah, physical, was in on just about every single play. Kind of owning Bijan a little bit. Like, honestly, it was kind of like...
I love that he said, F it, the fine and the flag was worth it to get that. I think it was like a personal foul penalty on Bijan.
I didn't even see that part. But just watching that game, dude, he was all over Bijan. Pretty much every time Bijan touched the ball. But, yeah, I mean, Brian Branch, they didn't have, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's shelved for maybe the entire year. Kirby Joseph was out. Did not matter at all. Brian Branch is a stud. Like, Buda Baker type vibes. Guy's going to be really, really good.
Love to see it.
Like him a lot. Brian
Branch, if he's still out there for some reason, go get him, because I think this guy now has the opportunity to go with the talent.
Another thing, I did notice that Aiden Hutchinson's sacks, both of them came in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, I think a lot of people were really frustrated with him. But he came through in the fourth. Got 2 sacks. Both of them were on the right side, which was interesting because he was pretty much lining up on the left side the entire game. But then switched to the right, got 2 sacks. That final one was the game-clinching one where he forced and recovered the fumble. Also, he has like a pretty cool little sack dance he does now.
Oh, what is it? Describe it for me.
I have no idea what it is. I'm sure it's some type. I'm sure it's got a name, but it's just...
Is it a Fortnite dance?
Like
perhaps?
the way he was moving.
Did they cut to his parents in the booth and, like, get his dad mic'd up like, oh, yeah, son.
They're just raising the roof.
Yes, that's it, son. Do the dance. Here was the quote. I found it. F it, I'll take the flag. Lions rookie Brian Branch said he was licking his chops on the hit on Bijan Robinson that resulted in a personal foul.
Okay, that was the helmet-to-helmet one, where I think Bijan kind of ducked into it. I mean, it was, I don't
Should
really
have
know
called it on Bijan, not on Brian Branch.
Branch could have really done, but yeah, dude is a dog.
Dog?
Certified dog.
We need a dog rating in the Dynasty ranks.
He's one. He's definitely one. He's playing pretty much exclusively in the slot.
100% of snaps. Can you have alignment for
yes,
Mr.
course.
Branch? Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Dynasty rankings, folks. TheIDPShow.com. $5 a month gets you access to this. It's not even fair to call them Dynasty rankings anymore. It's like
just data.
It's just a compendium, a database, probably.
Right. Yeah, so he's playing 95% of his snaps from the sweet spot, but it's basically slot dominated.
All slot, yep.
Yeah, 0 on the defensive line, 24 in the box, 3 at free safety, 128 in the slot, and 5 out wide. So, good stuff.
We've seen this type of slot role be profitable before. Kenny Moore, Jarius Sneed, slot guys that popped off, and you could start them in even DB type of leagues like Sleeper, because that type of usage leads to IDP production.
Yep. Well, and Detroit's also desperate for a playmaker now that they've lost Gardner Johnson.
11 solos.
Yep. Tracy Walker returned. He had a pick and he almost got another one. So that was nice to see. Kirby Joseph is someone that I've been adding in a lot of leagues. He's got pretty good usage. I think he's like 65% sweet spot usage. But he was impressive last year, and I could see him being pretty good for us again this year, especially now with kind of clearing out for him with some of these injuries. So, just still, I mean, a really, really fun defensive back room there in Detroit. Fun team.
A lot of swag, a lot of attitude.
We didn't mention Jack Campbell.
He's next.
Okay, go for it.
Charles Harris. It was number 3 technically here, 17.45 points after being very quiet the first 2 weeks, but 61% of snaps. Got him a sack, got him a couple TFLs, a QB hit, and 3 solos. But then Jack Campbell on just 57% of snaps, 16.5 points, 3 solos, 3 assists, a TFL, a sack, and a QB hit. Jack Campbell's time is coming, y'all. This Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez nonsense is going to be wiped out sooner rather than later, and Jack Campbell is going to reign supreme.
Yep, I agree.
It's coming. I really do believe that.
Just might take longer than we want.
Yeah, I think he'll get to that LB2 status. I think you'll see his snaps tick up once he finally kills Porn Thor. That remains to be seen, but I do think it happens. I think by the end of the season, especially if the Lions are pushing for the playoffs, I think he's your 100% snap linebacker.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I just worry about
the way Campbell does things there. This guy's a rookie.
Get his son on the field.
Yeah, really.
That last name is, I think it's gonna matter.
It should.
When Dan Campbell's downing his 600 milligrams of caffeine to start the day with his double espresso shot,
It should matter.
Just insane. I don't know how that man functions throughout the day.
He's got to have it, I'd say. I mean, that's an awful way to live. Jeez.
That heart is going to give out probably
Yeah.
sooner rather than later.
That's just that sounds awful.
But Jack Campbell's time is coming, folks.
It is coming.
I think even if he is the LB2, even if he doesn't manage to pass Alex Anzalone, I think this guy can do a lot with a little.
I'm not sure he will pass Anzalone. Anzalone makes plays on the reg.
Anzalone sucks. Get this dude out of here.
I know, but I mean, so does everyone else there outside of Campbell.
Get me Brian Branch, get me Aiden Hutchinson, get me Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
Right? Get your best players on the field. This is not hard to figure out.
Aiden looks great.
He's
someone that I bumped up in the ranks.
Yeah, he's making that leap.
Yep.
Yeah. Kayvon probably headed down a little bit.
Kayvon down. Actually, Jalen Phillips down a little bit.
Hate to see it.
Got to do it.
Got to do it. Let's talk, though, the other massive blowout. Bears-Chiefs. This game got ugly very fast. And we can go through this one pretty quickly because there's not a lot to write home about, especially on the Bears side of things. But TJ Edwards continues to be very solid. 21.75 points after 12.5 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 6 solos, 11 assists, 2 TFLs, 97% of snaps. You're not taking TJ Edwards out of your lineup. Terrell Smith, the DB, 18 points on 74% of snaps. There was special agent Jack Sanborn, 16.95 points, but off a solo, 2 assists, he had a pick and a PD with 42 interception return yards. So that helped as well. Just 32% of snaps. Quindell Johnson, a DB with 10.75. Jalen Jones, 10 points. Let's talk about the Chiefs. Mike Dana, 14.15 points on 57% of snaps. He's been a solid little play.
Yeah.
13.5 points per game the first 2 weeks. Drew Tranquil, Addy, back in the mix. Nick Bolton out. I believe some injuries took Willie Gay and maybe one of the other linebackers. I remember John's tweet. I'll pull it up here. But I think he said some injuries took a couple of these linebackers out off the field. So Drew Tranquil was the one to benefit. He played 82% of snaps.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was
12.5 points.
I didn't realize those other guys got banged up.
Yeah,
but
let me pull up John's tweet.
I like Tranquil a little bit. I mean, I think we were pretty vocal about this offseason. We thought that he was going to be that linebacker too there, and it hasn't started that way, of course. But I still think it's going to shake out that way. And, I mean, he gets on the field and he makes some plays.
That's right. I wanted to, so just looking down through all the snap counts. Make sure you're following John, people. What are you doing? Yeah, he said garbage time. There you go. That's what it was. It was not an injury. Garbage time knocked down Tranquil and Gay's total snap share. Willie Gay was at 41%. Chenal was at 67%. And Drew Tranquil was at 82%. So I think they got pulled in that.
Yeah.
But it looks like that was the pecking order. Now, Leo Chenal may have been bumped up a little bit, getting subbed in for like Tranquil or somebody late in the game.
Yeah, that is one of those games that's kind of hard to look too much into just because it was never a game.
It was
from the
Nick
start.
Bolton was out, so you had your one entrenched starter,
And Chris Jones didn't play hardly at all.
Yeah.
He got a sack and they got him out of there.
I mean, I can't blame him.
Yeah.
That game was really only worth watching to see them cut away to Taylor Swift in the booth.
What about that?
Does that just, we were debating this, watching the games yesterday. That kind of just feels like a content play, right? Like Travis was like, hey, Tay Swift, I got the #1 sports podcast in the world. Let's make a little content. We'll have some fun. You're the world's biggest musician right now. This is kind of like a power couple type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't really sense there's like romance there. It kind of just feels like they're doing it for the memes.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense, I guess.
But what the hell do we know?
Sense, right? CENTS, right? Money.
Hopefully they're making more than just some sense, Addy.
But it's weird. It's weird. I mean, it's just who cares?
Yeah, all the Swifties watching football now.
Yeah.
It's a weird time to be alive, that's for sure. Yeah, Drew Tranquil was the #2 scorer with 12.5 points. Mike Edwards was third, 12.35 points on 41% of snaps. You mentioned Chris Jones, 12.05 points, 1 solo, 1 TFL, 1 sack, 8 sack yards, 1 QB hit, 31% of snaps, played just 16 snaps, and they got him the hell out of there. And then Trent McDuffie, 9.25 points, 10.62 points per game average, 82% of snaps. So Trent McDuffie's been a little hot and cold so far this season.
But he's got that role that everyone's been
right.
excited about. You know, he's a slot guy now. Ladarius needs playing out wide. So, good stuff.
Good to be a slot boy.
Yes, sir.
So I think better days ahead for Trent McDuffie. Just a weird game. Just a weird game all the way around.
And he's still been solid.
Yeah, Chris Jones was out pretty much. Nick Bolton was out.
Yeah, and it's the
Bears. It's the Bears.
They're not. It's not a functional offense.
No, it's not a functional team.
Yeah,
not a functional organization, for God's sake.
Do you like Justin Fields throwing the coaching under the bus?
You just don't do that.
Yeah.
I just don't think you
not
do
a good
that.
look.
You
not
know,
a good look, bud.
It's like I think it is awful coaching. I think top to bottom, they're probably gonna.
It's a bad situation.
Scrap the whole thing and start over. But
everyone knows that, dude. You don't gotta say it. You don't gotta say the quiet part out loud. Like,
do other coaches want to come give you a chance now on their team?
No.
If things go bad, what if he throws me under the bus and creates a whole story? I mean, it matters. The NFL is a relationship business. And if you poison the well with relationships in any way, that's just going to follow you around.
No one likes people that make excuses.
Nope.
Can't do it.
Yep. So we'll see. I think this team's probably the front runner right now for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that would suck.
It's a bad, bad team.
That would really suck as a Vikings fan.
Yes, it would. You don't want that. You guys got to out-tank them, Addy. Get Kirk out of there. Thank him for his Coles outfits and, the solid, like, mid-30s dad energy. And let him go spread his wings with the New York Jets.
It's been fun for fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Had some fun games there in the mix. A lot of, like, crushing playoff defeats, but
yeah,
thus is life.
That's Kirk Cousins.
That's right. Cardinals Cowboys, very surprising win for the Arizona Cardinals over what a lot of people thought might be the best team in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys. And Addy, one of our off-season darlings, everyone's favorite sleeper, Kaiser White, 27.5 points, 15.15 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 100% of snaps, 79.3 overall grade, y'all. 14 total tackles, including 8 solos, 1 TFL, 1 INT, 1 PD. This Kytrell Clark guy again showing up here.
Yeah.
100% of snaps. He's a DB. 19.5 points, 9 points per game average the first 2 weeks. Chris Barnes is a name to pay attention to. 72% of snaps, 16.25 points, 8.62 points per game the first 2 weeks. 6 solos, an assist, and 2 PDs. I'm not going to try to pronounce Victor D's last name. Demokaje? That's what we're going to go with. And then look at that. There's Zaven Collins, 13.6 points, 11.3 average the first 2 weeks. He had 2 solos, 1 TFL, 1 sack, and 1 QB hit on just 30% of snaps. Did Zaven Collins get banged up in this game? I think I saw him on the ground at one point.
He did. He got banged up. I want to touch on that Victor D guy.
Victor D, let's talk about.
He's been good.
I figure I need to give this guy his props. I need to try to pronounce the last name.
Yeah, we may be learning how to pronounce his last name. That's always a sign that this guy's, doing good.
If you're making two country boys figure out how to pronounce your last name, that's a badge of honor because it's very hard for us.
But he's been really good. I mean, it's limited opportunities, of course, but 9 pressures on 41 pass rush snaps. So that's a 22% pressure rate. Week 1, he had 18 points. Week 2, he had 9 points. And then this past week, 14.5 points. So, I mean, that's good stuff. This is a rookie, I believe. So, I mean, I think most of us figured, like, is going to be, if any rookie was going to be making headlines on the defensive line, it's going to be B.J. Ojulari.
Yep.
Their second round. No, it's this Victor D guy.
Victor D, baby.
I'm not even sure where he was drafted at.
Was he drafted?
Let's dig in a little bit.
He might be undrafted.
He might be,
which would make it even more impressive.
But there's an opportunity there. I mean,
that team sucks. They're just trying to find players.
It's bad. I mean, and Zaven Collins could be out now for no telling how long.
So maybe BJ time is what you're telling me?
Could be. But I mean, he's gonna have to beat out old Victor D first. And Dennis Gardeck is still doing fine.
Just that hair.
Yep,
blowing in the wind.
But his snaps are going up. So I mean, he's a fine defensive end
2 or 3 option for you, I think.
Victor D, 56% of snaps. Watch out now. Did we figure out if Victor D was drafted?
6th-round pick.
6th-round pick.
210 overall. And actually,
that.
this was in 2021. Okay, so he's not a rookie.
He's a third year guy.
But I've never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Which kind of speaks to the state of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That a 3rd or a 6th-round pick from 3 years ago is getting some run finally.
Yeah, they have a weird crew there.
That team stinks.
They really do. But they're scrappy.
They are very scrappy. They're doing the respectful tank, where it's
They're,
like, we suck, but we are going to go down swinging.
Maybe they're a bunch of killers.
Bunch of killers?
Did you see that little clip or
Oh,
whatever?
God. The freaking... Who rode the bus here?
Yeah.
That's all I took from that.
I want killers.
Yeah.
Silent killers. Is that what it was? Silent killers? Something like that.
I want people who kill people on the bus.
Lasers. Pew, pew, pew. The guy is just full of just...
He's a dork.
Yeah.
I don't think he's there. If they somehow get the number 1 overall pick, they're like, hey, buddy, you're fired. We can't bring Caleb Williams into this building.
Yeah, you're too weird. You say some just strange things.
I think Caleb would immediately retire and maybe go back to pursue a master's degree. Let's keep it rolling, though. Addy, talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Some of their IDPs, though, still showed up. DeMarcus Lawrence, there he is. 20.85 points, 10.82 points per game average the first 2 weeks, 67% of snaps, 4 solos, 1 assist, 2 TFLs, 1 sack, 2 QB hits, followed closely by Micah Parsons, 17.75 points, 30.23 points per game average the first 2 weeks. Jesus, Micah, take it easy. 2 solos, 3 assists, 1 TFL, a sack, and 2 QB hits, 90% of snaps. Damone Clark, what's up, buddy? 10.25 points, 7 solos, 2 assists on 6 to 9% of snaps. Donovan Wilson, there he is, 7.5 points.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Donovan Wilson, 52% of snaps, 3 solos, 1 assist, and a TFL. And Stephon Gilmore, 7.25 points, after averaging 14.38 the first 2 weeks on 98% of snaps. So we got our defensive lineman there, which is about what we expect from the Cowboys.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence has been really good, like he always is. 11 pressures, 70 pass rush snaps. That's a 15.7% pressure rate. And then, he's averaging 14.2 points per game. That is currently defensive lineman 26, so that includes defensive tackles and edge rushers. Great start for DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, that's an awesome defense. I think you called it
Best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of looking like that.
Yeah, not a great week. Giving up the dub to the Cardinals.
That was a very bad loss, but
it happens. There's these wonky games,
and they're
all the time.
They're fresh off the Trevon Diggs ACL tear.
That's a major blow.
So that sucks. You hate that too because they just gave him a huge contract.
Glad he got paid though.
Yeah, I guess you don't hate that, but I mean it's
you hate it if you're the Cowboys because you invested in this guy and now he's hurt. I mean it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Let's talk Panthers, Seahawks. Addy, I think 4 games left here. Last game from the Sunday slate before we get into Sunday Night Football. Let's talk Brian Burns, Carolina Panthers, 25.6 points. Little quiet the first 2 weeks, 13.1 points per game average, but 25.6 here in week 3. 3 solos, 1 assist, 3 TFLs, 1 sack, and 3 QB hits on 68% of snaps. And then Deion Jones, this is the name to pay attention to. He was the Luvu injury replacement. 14.5 points, 3 solos, 1 assist, a pick, and a PD on 69% of snaps. Yetur Gross-Matos, what are you doing in here? 13.85 points on 56% of snaps. Kama Grugier here was still fine, but only 67% of snaps, 11 points. And then Von Bell, 10 points after averaging 12.18 the first 2 weeks, 100% of snaps. So for me, Addy, it's Brian Burns. Very large tier break.
Frankie Louvu usually.
Yes, I was going to say Frankie Louvu if he's healthy, of course.
And
Shaq Thompson probably out. I think Shaq Thompson is out for the season.
He is.
So yes, I would put Frankie Louvu in that Brian Burns tier. Brian Burns number 1, Louvu number 2. Large tier break.
Yes.
Maybe Derek Brown in D-tackle required leagues. Maybe.
Yeah, he's been solid.
Jeremy Chin's completely gone. Von Bell's like a nice safety 2-3 option.
Now, Jen did see his snaps increase this week.
Nope.
But that was because Xavier Woods got hurt.
Yeah.
So Xavier Woods left this game early. I think it was a hamstring. So Jeremy Chin played more than he has all season. But, yeah, I mean, he wasn't productive.
Try to trade him. See if you can get a 4th-round pick. I mean, 3rd-round pick. Anything for this guy?
Well, I mean, you wait. I think the move is you hope that Woods
Maybe
misses,
if Woods misses a week,
and then you can put him out there and say he's back.
He's back, guys.
Yep.
Here he is. Come get him.
Right.
And
So
then,
you got another window here, but yeah, Jeremy Chin. I don't think anyone's seen their value plummet more.
I mean, Jace did not have him ranked this week in his weekly
Wow.
rankings. I thought that was pretty damning.
It'd be Jeremy Chin, and I guess if you want to say Isaiah Simmons,
Yep,
as a defensive back, then both of those guys have. I mean, Jeremy Chin was like a unanimous top 10 safety in Dynasty.
Oh, he was
before
going.
the season started.
I think he was going he was the 3rd safety off the board. I think in our best ball drafts.
So even in redraft, I mean,
Yeah.
it was still insane. But we don't have any Jeremy Chin.
Nope, no Jeremy Chin at this table. A lot of Kyle Hamilton, a lot of Paulson Adebo, a lot of Rodney McLeod.
No, Alontae Taylor.
That's
You
right.
mean- You mean
That's right. I'm sorry. Alontae Taylor, not Paulson Adebo.
right?
So let's talk Seahawks, though. Jaron Reed, 29.7 points. Go off, Mr. Reed.
Wow.
4 solos, 4 assists, a TFL, 1.5 sacks, 1 PD, 3 QB hits, 53% of snaps. Devon with him, Spoon, 25.25 points, 100% of snaps. Young man is looking good. Jordan Brooks, there he is again. 17.15 points. Is freaking Jordan Brooks the LB1 in Seattle now? Like, what the hell is going on? 80% of snaps this week. He's back. I mean, just point blank period. Jordan Brooks is back. 11.12 points per game average. Boye Mafe, 73% of snaps, 14.35 points. And then rounding out the top 5 is your boy, Julian Love, 13.75 points, 16.15 average the first 2 weeks, 85% of snaps. Julian Love, still very good, Eddie.
Yes, very good. I did see where Jamal Adams is going to be returning to the Seahawks, so we'll see how that affects, if it does affect him. Good to see Boye Mafe back, pick up a sack. Derek Hall has seen his snaps increase a little bit every single week, so maybe his time is coming at some point. I think Dermont Jones left this game early with an injury. But yeah, fun Seattle defense. I think they're still starting. They started a little slow.
Was that team 2-1 now, right? They beat the Lions, and now who was it they beat this week?
Really awful. Well, I guess it wasn't. It wasn't
Panthers.
that bad. That week 1 loss wasn't that bad. And it was the Rams, but
It was
the
the Puka
Rams,
Nacua coming out party,
The
16
Rams-
targets or whatever.
The Rams are a lot better than a lot of us thought they were.
Yeah,
gonna
they're
be.
scrappy.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Let's wrap up here with the Sunday games, talking Steelers-Raiders. Levi Wallace was the number 1 scorer for Pittsburgh, 34.5 points. He had 4 solos, 2 assists, and 2 picks with 4 passes defended. So those 2 interceptions definitely helped. 93% of snaps. There's TJ Watt again. Y'all, he was averaging 44.62 points per game the first 2 weeks of the season and sprinkled in another 26.1 points.
To 38.5 now.
Yeah, just a cool 38 points per game average the first 3 weeks. Not much needs to be said about TJ Watt. He's the DPOY right now. He's the IDP 1 on the season. I think he's already to triple digits points-wise for the season.
He's the number 1 scorer overall right now.
I just saw that.
In offense or IDP.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's over quarterbacks.
Go off, TJ Watt. That's insane. That is literally, if you're the number 1 scorer in all of fantasy.
He's averaging 38.5 a game right now.
Yeah, who's giving you that besides quarterbacks?
Yeah. And
so
they're
now-
not even giving you that.
No. Patrick Peterson, 15.75 points, 99% of snaps. Not a bad option. He did pick up an interception this week, but a pass defense, 5 total tackles. Cole Holcomb, 13.25 points, 11.62 through the first 2 weeks, 74% of snaps. So he's fine, but he's just not getting the snaps that you want to see. Marcus Golden, 12.6 points on 28% of snaps. So not really sustainable production there.
And just not a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah,
For any of those guys, But there's a lot of guys I think we're kind of excited about. Herbig.
Yep. But it's Highsmith and TJ Watt.
Right.
Those are the two guys dominating the snaps there. Let's talk about the Raiders, because on the other side, Max Crosby was actually the leading point scorer for the Raiders, 15.45 points after 12.85 the first 2 weeks. So Max has been a little quiet. The snaps, though, 95% of snaps in this one.
Yeah, it's linebacker snaps.
Crazy.
Off-ball linebacker
That's
snaps.
why it's like, don't ever take Max Crosby out of your lineups, either because the volume of snaps this guy is getting is unmatched right now in all of IDP for edge rushers.
Yeah, and also keep that in mind with like his pressure rate. Like his pressure rate's probably not going to be as good as it has been in years past, but also he's just dominating everyone as far as playing time. So
it's going to be lower
it's
just
gonna go
because
down.
the average is going to drop because there's so many snaps that it's being divided
and
by.
he's also probably worn out there.
Yes, he's got to be exhausted.
You're not going to be as good when you're out there the entire game.
Yeah, it's like, Coach, please God, give me a breather. Should McDaniels be fired for kicking a field goal down 8?
That was bad.
There's just certain things that if you do this, you're fired.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, okay, buddy, you got to go.
Yeah.
You did. That's just like, you lose by 50, you got to go. You kick a field goal when you say, and then you follow it up by saying, we needed 2 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, bud.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. So really bad look for Josh McDaniels. I think he gets canned maybe before the season's over. I just don't think it's there.
That team's going nowhere.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is like, I don't have time for us to figure it out. We need to get our shit together right now because I'm tired of losing. So Devontae Adams in a great headspace, if you can't tell, folks. But let's finish out the Raiders here. Nate Hobbs, 14 points. He's been so good.
Stud.
He's so good. 16.12 average the
Another
first 2
one of those
weeks.
slot corners. So, folks, you want the slot corners.
Just get the slot boys.
Yep.
82% of snaps. John Jenkins, defensive tackle, 10.5. Marcus Peters, 10 points there, cornerback. And then Big Bob Spillane, 8.25. 17.62 the first 2 weeks, 100% of snaps. So linebackers are fine there. Yeah, let's move on to
Did Diablo get hurt or
let's
just a bad game? I think I saw he was only played like 84% of the snaps.
okay. He may have gotten banged up.
Maybe he got banged up, but yeah, you always do worry about the linebackers. Like when this defense is just bad, like they could always try different things, at some point.
They could. Yeah,
So,
this team is bad.
It's a concern.
The coaching staff we can't really trust right now with some of the decisions they're making.
And I don't think the depth is anything really to worry about. But you never know. They'll try different stuff if it's going to continue to swirl down the toilet. So I don't know. You got to be a little cautious with some. I sold Diablo actually.
I remember you said that
in one of those.
Yep.
One of my dynasty leagues, just because I don't know. It just feels like a good time to get out. Everyone's kind of excited about him. He's kind of like IDP darling.
The trap door under his feet feels very much.
Yes.
It's shaky. I'm worried
Yeah.
it's made of like plywood.
Yep.
And it's going to give way at any point.
So I think get out if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the upside? Is he going to be? I got like a second. I had to give like a maybe it was like
It was a Diablo and a 4th for a second, right?
something like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
You should put it on the. You should do a trade show.
I should.
You should do a trade show.
Should do one.
Hey, second episode of the trade show just dropped a couple nights ago. Addie was on with the younger king, Evan Ringler, of player profiler, going through probably about 10 trades or so. We answered some questions from the chat. It's a live stream. So make sure you subscribe over on YouTube.
A lot of fun.
YouTube.com/@the-IDP show. Turn on the bell so that you're notified when this goes live.
Yeah. IDP trades are hard. We're just trying to make them not as hard.
Yeah, trying to make them fun. We dropped a couple shorts over there as well, recapping some of the trades. Going to try to drop some more. But, yeah, that show's kind of more irregular, so you have to just pay attention to the socials. Make sure you're following them on X/Twitter at IDP Trades. And then, yeah, it'll be going live on Twitter and on YouTube as well. So you can check that episode out. But yes, let's talk about the Monday night games. I've just got all the teams pulled up that played Monday night. There were 4 of them: the Buccaneers, Eagles, Rams, and Bengals. Addie, Levante David was the leading scorer out of all those games, 24.85 points. He had 13 total tackles and a sack. Logan Wilson, mom's meatloaf, clocking in here at number 2 overall. 4 tackles, had 2 picks in that game. So Logan Wilson absolutely getting propped up, but he's been really solid this season. 12 points week 1, 14 points week 2, and then pops off for 24.5. So the interceptions did bail him out a little bit because he only had 4 tackles in this game, but it's just because he was too busy picking off passes. Looks like Trey Hendrickson got on the board. Addy, 17.05 points week 1, but 2 points week 2, not great, but 24 points this week, 2 tackles and 2 sacks. So those are your top 3. Aaron Donald back on the board finally after 8.9 week 1, 2 in week 2, goes for 23.55, 7 tackles and a sack this week. And then rounding out your top 5 is a safety. I think I called him out week 1, and we were like, oh yeah, he's a fine option, but Dax Hill may be the number 1. Number 2, he's a top 5 option for you right now, safety-wise, in IDP. 25 points week 1, 17.5 week 2, 23.3 points week 3.
He's good.
Dax Hill is certified good.
He's very good. Yeah, and I mean, most of these, at least it has been like this lately, a lot of these safeties that get drafted every year, like they pop early. Like literally all the safeties last year were good, Petre, Brisker.
Yep. K-Ham wasn't, but
K-Ham, but I mean, he was still like everyone was excited about him and stuff.
I mean, I go back to the fact my favorite offseason stat was he scored 3 fewer points than Chuck Clark, playing half the number of snaps that Chuck Clark played.
Yeah.
So for the opportunity he got, he was good. Dax Hill has already, I think, surpassed his number of snaps from last season.
Wow.
So he is making the most of it. Speaking of safeties, though, Reed Blankenship with looks like 21.25 points. Did not play week 2, but had 21 points in week 1. So he's averaging about 21 points per game in the games that he's played. Nice little safety option there in Philadelphia for you. Devin White was solid as well. 20.35 points, 7 tackles and an INT. Ducked out of bounds, running the ball back. I think didn't want to blow up Jalen Hurts and probably get a flag. So kind of a coward move, but it's okay. Man rides horses.
Sure. Yeah.
He's not afraid. Sam Hubbard, there he is as well. So both of the whitest defensive end combo in the NFL, Trey and Sam, both had great games.
Good, because that was Hubbard was really struggling to start,
Yeah, I could see where you went Subbard because you also had struggling in there as well.
Sure.
So
and
a lot
Sam.
Has too many S's. We got to get some S's out of this equation. We need Sam to become Trey Hubbard to make it a little easier. Yeah. But 7.5 and then 6 to start the first 2 weeks. Yeah. But this is what Sam Hubbard does. This is what most edge rushers do, guys.
Yes,
they have quiet games, then they have big blow-up games. This is how it goes. Ernest Jones continues to be very good. 17.75 week 1, 10 points week 2, 17.25 week 3. A player you were kind of excited about to see get some action there, Addy. BJ Hill, 15.3 points. Had a nice week 1, 13.5, 3.25 in week 2.
Underrated.
Very underrated.
Yep.
And then the ascending defensive tackle. I want to revisit the defensive tackle dynasty ranks because I think this guy may be sneaking his way into the top 10, maybe even higher. Jalen Carter, Philadelphia Eagles, 15.05 points, 2 tackles, half a sack, 2 forced fumbles, 11.55 week 1, 5.5 week 2.
Top 10. He's there, brother.
You think he's already top 10?
Oh, my goodness.
I think so, too.
Remember, we had this combo.
Defensive tackle's really loaded right now, though, man.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of old ones, like Chris Jones, DeForest Buckner. Both those guys are like 28, 29 now. Jalen Carter's 22.
Yeah.
Ultra productive.
Who are
looking, like he could be ultra productive.
What was that conversation we were having on the trade show, wasn't it? About who would you rather have? Yeah. I mean, as far as dynasty.
Yeah, dynasty.
I think it's Big Q, still number 1.
Jeffrey Simmons,
number 2.
And then
you could probably slot in Carter, number 3.
That's where he is right now at the IDPshow.com, folks.
Yeah.
So,
and then another guy we talked about. Okay, I wanted to bring this up from the trade show because you all had a very interesting trade. It was very fun. Dre Greenlaw and Byron Young for Nakobe Dean and Antoine Winfield. You and Evan both came down on the Nakobe Dean, Antoine Winfield side. I was on the Dre Greenlaw, Byron Young side
It's close.
because I want the edge rusher.
Yeah.
What if this guy actually develops? And thus far, averaging about 12.5, 13 points per game so far. He's got, looks like 2 total sacks on the season.
Yeah.
So obviously not worst, just the least established piece in that trade.
Yes.
But for me, I like Greenlaw better than Nakobe right now and probably for the next few seasons.
Yeah.
And then Winfield has been great, but he's a safety.
Yeah.
If Byron Young can be a top 30 edge, that's pretty valuable to me.
Yeah.
It was very close, though.
Yeah.
I think I would come down on the Greenlaw, Byron Young side.
It's tough. I mean, Byron Young is in a great situation right now.
Yes, he
for
is.
him, I mean, there's just no talent on that Rams team. He does have the luxury of playing alongside Aaron Donald, but yeah, I mean, he's getting tons of snaps. He is doing well with them. He got one tonight again? Another sack?
Half a sack.
Okay,
5
great.
tackles.
That's awesome.
14.7 points.
And yeah, I mean, he hits a lot of the measurables that we like. I think he was like a 99th percentile speed score. So
Rams don't have a lot of first-round picks, so can't be spending a lot. That's typically where you see premium edge rushers go is first round.
yeah,
So-
but I think we mentioned that. Like, we liked every piece in that trade. It was a good trade. It was a win-win. And I am a little concerned about Nakobe Dean.
I am too. Just you get your chance, you get injured. It's just like, I don't know. I think it's probably short-sighted, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't get on the field year one at all, and then when you finally do, you get banged up, which was a worry about you anyway. So
Yep.
just doesn't feel great,
The names, I think, is still there. I think a lot of people are still excited about Nakobe Dean.
And that was really why I went that side, just because I think like the market value
Yes,
is still
I
there
agree.
for Nakobe Dean,
I agree.
and people are still pumped. Whereas Drake Greenlaw, like, I don't know, he just kind of gets slept on a little bit.
Mhm.
Like,
He's in Fred Warner's shadow,
yeah,
and
right.
he's just
Even
everyone-
though like he produces
I know.
just like Fred Warner, maybe
Exactly.
even better sometimes. Yeah, he just doesn't get the respect in the market. So yeah, Nakobe Dean and Antoine Winfield both do. They're both exciting pieces. Everyone's hype about them. I think we'll get there with Byron Young. It's just you got to wait and hope.
He's a good start to his career, though.
Yes, definitely.
We should mention a couple more guys here. Ryan Neal, there he is once again.
Awesome.
7 points week 1, 11 week 2, 14.25 here in week 3, and then is there another? Oh man, I think our boy Tuli has a brother.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, Marlon Tui Pilotu. I've got that one nailed. I'm feeling really good about that one. And then Antoine Winfield, the aforementioned, was at 10.75 points. So he's been phenomenal to start the season. 29 points, 11.25, 10.75. Very good start to the year for Antoine Winfield. So there you go, folks. Wrapping up the Monday Night Football games.
What did he finish with tonight?
10.25.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, 10.75. So after the 29-point outing in week 1, that's probably like a 20-point per game average or something like that. Maybe 17.5. So very good. We are starting to see, I think, the leaders at the positions round into shape. I say let's look at like position leaders after maybe like 6 or 8 weeks, Addy.
Yeah.
And see like where things stand. Maybe like a midpoint check-in sort of thing, Because, the playoffs now run through week 17, right? That's when the championship is now, because there's 18 weeks in the season, 17 weeks. So maybe we'll check in around like 6 to 8, somewhere in there, to see how the positional leaders are shaking out. But I think they're starting to normalize a little bit.
Yeah.
The kind of outliers and the big boom games are starting to get kind of tamped down a bit here as we've got more games and more snaps and more data. So, all right, Addy, there we go. Look at us. Almost a 2-hour two-hander. I thought, we'll be out of here in like an hour and 20.
Oh, wow.
With just the two of us.
Got
But no.
away from us a little bit, didn't it?
It was a lot. We got to talk about every game. Actually, no, we haven't talked about Thursday Night Football. What was the Thursday night game? Let's get this one in real quick. We said we are going to recap all the games in the tweet, damn it. And we're going to recap all the games.
What was the Thursday night game?
It feels very long ago at this point. Can you look up the Thursday night game and I'll pull up the scores here and we can just riff on it to wrap up the pod?
Yeah, of course I can.
No bias. So there's a lot of games, folks. 16 games, 32 teams. Lot of names to get through. Thursday night game. What was it? Oh, it was 49ers Giants.
There you go.
So let's pull these guys up real quick.
Kayvon got him a sack.
There you go. Yeah, let's pull up Giants.
Micah McFadden balled.
And 49ers. Here we go. So let's look at, Micah McFadden was the number one scorer on the in that game, 24 points. He had 10 total tackles. So good job, Micah McFadden. Clearly the LB2 there.
Yeah.
Just in terms of snaps, hell, maybe the LB you want.
Yeah.
Bobby Okereke has been fine.
Just getting tackles, though, right?
That's
Not
it.
really doing anything else.
Not doing much
hopefully
else.
the big plays will come. But, yeah, I mean, not really what we had hoped for to start.
Just 39 snaps for Nick Bosa, but 16.05 points, 3 tackles, 1 sack. Javon Hargrave was a nice start as well. 13.95. He had a dud week 2, 2.75 points, but 15.55 against the Giants. Leonard Williams, 13.3 points there. Kayvon did get him a sack, 3 tackles, good for 13.15 points, but he's been pretty bad to start the season otherwise. Charvarius Ward, nice little cornerback there. Listen to this log, 14.15, 15.5, 13 points for Charvarius Ward. So very good start, cornerback required leagues. Talanoa Hufanga, 22.05 week 1, 4.75 week 2, 12.05 week 3. So
Big play dependent.
big play dependent. Yeah, Bobby Okereke, just basically he has 1 forced fumble. That is it. 5 tackles, 8 tackles, 9 tackles, probably averaging about 10 points per game.
Yeah.
So like a fine LB2-3 option for you. And then I'm trying to see if there's anyone else. Xavier McKinney was down at 8.25 points. Dre Greenlaw had a down game, only 7.75 points. I want to see where Fred was.
I think he left early.
Did he?
Yeah, he left early, and who was it that replaced
Yeah, Fred had a down game as well. He played 50 snaps. Just 4 tackles, good for 4 points. So not great for Fred. I mean, he scored the same number of points as Isaiah Simmons. So not great.
Warren Burks, I think, is who replaced Drake Greenlaw.
Yes, you're right. Because he played, it looks like 21 snaps. And then, we had, who was it? Drake Greenlaw played 42 snaps. So I think he got a little bit banged up at some point. Jason Pinnock, we've heard a lot of Jason Pinnock hype. He had 7.25 points. So continues to be a fine option there as well. So there you go, folks. We got the Thursday night game in too. So every single team probably got 200-plus players at this point mentioned on the pod. So, Addy, any big picture takeaways here through 3 weeks of the NFL season?
Gosh.
Defensive scoring has been very good.
It's been great. Yeah, I mean, you can expect, I think, a ton of regression. I mean,
offenses will get better.
Yeah.
If you got TJ Watt leading all of fantasy football, that does not feel sustainable to me.
Yeah. Offenses are making a ton of mistakes to start, so I mean, you're going to see a lot of sloppy play like you've seen. And so yeah, that's going to help IDP scoring, but yeah, I think that it's going to settle down a little bit. You're not going to have 6 edge rushers averaging over 25 points per game. Zaire Franklin's not going to average 15 tackles a game this year.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. TJ Watt's not going to have 35 sacks. Maybe.
I mean, TJ Watt, 115 points right now by Big 3 scoring. Keenan Allen, 93 points is the next guy up. This looks like Tyreek Hill is number 3. Kirk Cousins is number 4. Tua is number 5. Danielle Hunter is number 6 in all of fantasy football.
Love to see it.
So,
but there should be some IDP sprinkled in there.
There should
the
be.
Top guys.
There
That's
should
the way
be.
It's supposed to be played, people.
So we'll wrap up week 3 recap here. Make sure you're following along at the IDPshow.com. The weekly waiver wire article is already out. We published it before we started recording this episode. Weekly rankings will be live tomorrow by lunchtime.
Logs are live.
Yeah.
Logs are updated.
So go check that out. Speaking of logs, Johnny the Greek, his cornerback corner article will be live Tuesday night. The pod version will be live in the after show feed the next morning. Like I said, weekly rankings coming out. Jace is talking to Joey the Tooth this week about their rankings. And then I'm on the preview pod with Macri over in the PFF feed. So that will be a lot of fun. Make sure you're subscribed over there as well. If you've been enjoying the after show episodes, we've got, as we mentioned, Johnny's episode, Jace's episode, our boy Leezy's in there doing Banged Up. He's a stream boy now. And some of the calls, I didn't know that Nick Bolton had been not practicing this week, missed the game. So, make sure you're checking that out, folks. There's no other source of info for injuries on defensive players. Now, the industry really only focuses on offensive guys that are banged up.
Yeah, he has LED lights in his room.
It's a sick setup. You want to check. He's a handsome guy.
He's a real streamer.
Lot going on there with Leezy. But if you've been enjoying the after show, leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple. 5 stars on Spotify really helps us out. And do the same for the IDP show as well. And then check out the trade show. We got all sorts of shows right now, Addy, and we're trying to take care of y'all.
That's right. We just want to get in front of you.
That's right.
Spend some time with you.
We just want some quality time with you folks. So Jake and Evan will be back with the Week 4 preview here in a couple days, and then we'll be back for the Week 5 recap. But until then, y'all take care. We'll see you soon.
It's the IDP.